Newest next-gen Dunkin' location at 500 Cool Springs Boulevard today. Heads up for a fun grand opening celebration coming on January 21st with all kinds of giveaways. Try the new omelet bites with bacon and cheddar or brown sugar cookie cold brew. Either way, go get your dunks.
Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey is the official whiskey of the NFL pregame broadcast on ESPN 1025 The Game. Screwball is the original and most awarded peanut butter whiskey in the world. Made with real whiskey, peanuts, and peanut butter, Screwball is all natural flavor to be enjoyed as a straight shot, in an espresso martini, peanut butter old fashioned, or a PB&J shot with a berry liqueur. Check out screwballwhiskey.com/recipes for more. Be sure and ask for Screwball by name at your favorite watering hole in Nashville.
Enjoy responsibly. 2021 Screwball Spirits LLC, San Diego, California. Whiskey with natural flavors, 35% alcohol by volume.
The Game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Be a part of the conversation by calling or texting us at 615-737-1025.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
A Cromwell media station.
Live from the Game Nashville studios, it's Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. With Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 1025 The Game. Fireball Hot Take Friday, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. Caroline Fenton is here today. Hello, Caroline.
Hello, how we doing?
Fantastic. Outstanding is how we are doing today. Ian Safar out today. Elijah Campbell, Chase McCable be in for him. So it is a Titanless wild card weekend. And boy, it is going to be an exciting wild card weekend. I know, like, people are looking at games. We do this with college football. We do this with the NFL. The NFL will be over like 1 month from today. The NFL will be over. Then we'll have free agency. Then we'll have the draft. But all throughout that process, you'll have people telling you, okay, these are the teams that are going to be good next year. I'll give you an example. Everybody will pick the Tennessee Titans to win the AFC South in 2022. I don't care what happens in the draft. I don't care what happens in free agency. I don't care unless Aaron Rodgers ends up on the Indianapolis Colts. I don't foresee there being anybody of any actual football clout that will pick against the Titans to win the division next year. So then everybody will spend all year talking about how Tennessee is a playoff team, the end, whatever. But that doesn't actually mean anything. What the group think is what people think. That doesn't mean anything. Wild card weekend is the same way. Right now, nobody thinks that Philadelphia is going to beat Tampa Bay. But that doesn't mean that Philadelphia is not going to beat Tampa Bay. 2 years ago, Tampa Bay played New Orleans in the divisional round. Last year. They played in the divisional round. New Orleans had smoked Tampa twice during the regular season. Smoked them. Embarrassed them in Tampa on Sunday Night Football. So now all of a sudden there's a different game. And Drew Brees throws some interceptions. Brady ends up winning the game. Goodbye, Drew Brees. By the way, 2 years ago, the 2019 playoffs, the ones in which the Titans went to New England and won a game that nobody expected the Titans to win, and then knocked off Baltimore, a team that nobody expected to lose. Going into those playoffs, I thought the two best teams in football in each conference, I thought Kansas City was the best team in the AFC. They ended up going to the Super Bowl. They ended up winning the Super Bowl. I thought New Orleans was the best team in the NFC. They lost to Kirk Cousins and Minnesota in the wild card round. So just because you think there's no way Tampa Bay could lose to Philadelphia, or you think there's no way that in below freezing temperatures, Mac Jones, a quarterback from the SEC, can go beat Buffalo, doesn't mean that these things can't happen. That's why we play the game. So with that, I'm going to start the show by telling you all this. I am going into Wild Card Weekend giving the Titans a 51% chance to make it to the Super Bowl. Where I sit today, 51% chance that I think the Titans are going to make the Super Bowl. This is my way of telling you that I think it is more likely than not that I think Tennessee is going to make the Super Bowl. But let me put a giant asterisk next to that. I am leaving it open for me to change my mind after this weekend. And I'm leaving it for me to change my mind about how I feel about these teams, how I feel about these coaches, how I feel about home field advantage. All of these things, I'm leaving it all open across the league. And you should too. I think now we live in this society where everybody looks at, you're taken, you had a take, and you got to stick by it, that you got to stand with it. And when you're making a commitment that's a 4-year commitment, Carson Wentz to the Colts, you kind of have to stand by that. When you're the Rams and you trade all those picks to get Jared Goff and you give Jared Goff all that money and then you trade all those first-rounders to get rid of Jared Goff and you get Matthew Stafford, you're stuck with that decision. You better get that one right. But when it comes to one game or how a team is playing or a player who is injured, those things can fluctuate. That's why the betting markets will get altered game to game, player by player, and that's okay. But where we sit today, I'm giving the Titans a 51% chance to make the Super Bowl. On the other side, the NFC, I give Green Bay a 70% chance to make it to the Super Bowl. I think Green Bay is that much more of a favorite than everybody else. Tampa Bay, I have second. They're not the second seed in the NFC, but I have Tampa Bay second, the NFC 20%. By the way, that's why getting the bye week is so important. Because even though I don't think Philadelphia is going to beat Tampa Bay, I don't think Pittsburgh's going to beat Kansas City, I probably don't think New England is going to beat Buffalo, all of those things are possible. And it's one less game that the Titans don't have to deal with. Think about who the worst team in the AFC is right now. It's Pittsburgh. What happened when you play them? Well, Jared, they fumbled the ball 4 times. You can't expect that they'd fumble the ball 4 times if they play them again. True. But the Titans, in 2000, best Titans team I've ever seen, had lost 1 game over 2 years at Adelphia Coliseum, now Nissan Stadium. They lost by 1 point to the Ravens, in which Al Del Greco missed a field goal in the regular season in 2000. They played the Ravens again in the divisional round of the playoffs. Al Del Greco missed 3 field goals, and the Titans lost. So, again, 1 game should be able to skew how you feel about a little matchup here or there. So today, Titans, 51%. These are my percentages in the AFC. Titans, 51%. I have Buffalo at number 2 at 20%. And you would say, wait a minute, last week you said Kansas City was better than Buffalo. Now you're going with Buffalo over Kansas City. Buffalo number 2 at 20%. What gives? And I would say this. You see the weather in Buffalo this weekend?
Freezing.
0 degrees. Kansas City's got a great home field advantage, but they don't have the wind that Buffalo's got. And maybe the wind's bad for Buffalo. Maybe their inability to run the football's bad for Buffalo. Maybe I'm getting too swayed over by the fact that I watched the Denver-Kansas City game on Saturday, and I didn't watch much of the Bills taking on the Jets, in which was a closer than expected probably game. But I'm going to go Buffalo 20%. Kansas City 18% to make the Super Bowl. And again, I reserve the right to change my mind. Buffalo goes down to the wire, or one of those games where you feel like they got lucky. Kansas City blows out Pittsburgh. Maybe I change my mind. But right now, Buffalo 20%, Kansas City 18%. The only other team that I give a percent to is Cincinnati at 3%. I do not like Cincinnati's chances. Joe Burrow's got a bad knee. They've got an inexperienced coach. They don't have a great defense. They have a terrible offensive line, and they're probably going to have to win 2 games on the road. That is a lot to ask. They've got great wide receivers. I get it. But Peyton Manning had 2 wide receivers who are going to be in the Hall of Fame and a running back who's already in the Hall of Fame. And he got to the Super Bowl twice in 15 years at Indianapolis. It's hard, especially when you've got to go on the road. Cincinnati's path to the Super Bowl right now looks like the red-hot Raiders at home, on the road to the number 1 seed Titans, on the road to the winner of Kansas City and Buffalo. I don't think that Kansas City is going to be able to climb that. Beat the Raiders by 50, maybe I'll change my mind. But I've got Kansas City at 3%, and I've got all the other teams combined at 8%. So the Raiders, the Steelers, the Patriots, 8%. Belichick's probably a big part of that. But Tennessee 51, Buffalo 20, Kansas City 18, Cincinnati 3, everybody else 8. In the NFC, I've only got 3 teams that I give percentages to. Green Bay 70, Tampa Bay 20, the Rams 5. I am not a Rams Kool-Aid drinker by any stretch of the imagination. The Rams 5, everybody else 5. So Dallas, Arizona, and then forget about the other 2 teams because San Francisco's not going to Super Bowl. So good about the Titans' chances. But would you call 51% great? Let me change from ranting and raving and giving you my thoughts on it to facilitating it for everybody else. Do you think that there is a more likely than not, the preponderance of the evidence, the difference between a civil case and a criminal case? Do you think it is more likely than not, Caroline Fenton, that the Tennessee Titans are going to the Super Bowl out of the AFC?
No.
Why?
Because I'm still stuck on Kansas City.
Okay, so give me a percent for the Titans.
It's high. I would put probably 40% Titans.
Okay.
And I'm not quite there at 51, but still a really good chance.
Okay, so if you're going to do that, what would you put the percentage, in this case, for Kansas City?
Are we divvying up a pie of 100?
Yes, we are.
Then I would put Kansas City right where you put the Titans at, like 51%. Just a little bit more likely than not.
Okay, so if you're putting Kansas City at 51% and you're putting the Titans at 40%, you're giving the rest of the entire field, including Buffalo, a 9% chance to make it to the Super Bowl. You don't think Buffalo, number 1 scoring defense in the NFL, hard place to play, there is a legitimate chance that they could host an AFC Championship game. If the Titans lose and they beat Kansas City on the road, which they've already done this year, Buffalo's hosting the AFC title game in Buffalo. And you're still giving them, lumped in with everybody else, a 9% chance to go to the Super Bowl.
I mean, it sounds crazy, but I really do think that out of the AFC, it's going to be Tennessee or Kansas City. I don't know why I'm not giving the Bills more of a look and more of a nod. I just think it's going to be Kansas City or Tennessee.
Okay, the second round of the playoffs, let's say everything goes chalk. Buffalo at Kansas City. Buffalo's already beaten Kansas City at Kansas City. Kansas City's not playing all that great. I mean, the best game Kansas City has won recently is, what, that Charger game?
Yeah.
Okay, in overtime at the Chargers, we know the Charger coach, Buffalo just went to New England and smoked New England. So Buffalo, you can make the argument, is playing better than Kansas City.
And New England also went into Buffalo and beat Buffalo.
They beat Buffalo in a weird, fluky,
in
kind
a
of
windstorm,
weird
cold,
game.
snow, yes.
Arrowhead won't have that. And if Arrowhead has that, that may be advantage Buffalo because now Kansas City can't throw the ball. So you put yourself in something like that. I think that it's probably, it would be, my estimation, a 3-point spread in Kansas City for Kansas City solely because of home field. I just think everybody's overinflating Kansas City.
But I cannot underestimate the fact that the Bills just don't run the ball very well. They
Neither
don't run
does
the ball
Kansas City.
very effectively.
Neither do the Chiefs.
But I think Patrick Mahomes is a better quarterback than Josh Allen.
Okay, but who's got a better defense?
Buffalo.
Okay. So it's hard. And don't you think that if Buffalo's number 1 defense goes out there and shuts New England down to 0 points, and that Pittsburgh goes and hangs in a game with Kansas City, that your mind is likely to change from one week to the next?
Probably so.
That's how the playoffs work. I love this because I was talking to somebody today, and I said, do you think the Titans are the most likely team to go to the Super Bowl out of the AFC, going into the playoffs? And they said to me, no, I have to go with the Chiefs. They've owned the conference for the last 2 years, and what they've done in the past, and the fact that they've won in the AFC and all these things. I'm like, okay. And then I think to myself, I go, so who do you think is the favorite in the NFC? And he said, oh, the Packers. I'm like, wait a minute. Last year, Tampa Bay went on the road to Green Bay, beat Green Bay. They ended up in the Super Bowl. And if we're going to talk about what you've done, I mean, last time I checked, the Tampa quarterback is pretty accomplished when it comes to the playoffs. Aaron has a lot to be desired come to the playoffs. He's got one Super Bowl. He played in another. People think Aaron's an all-time great, and I think Aaron's a Hall of Famer. But you compare the playoffs, it's not close between these two guys. But I would agree that I think Green Bay is the team to beat in the NFC. But again, the playoffs are so different. That's why everybody loves them, because they're so hard to predict. There's something that Peter Laviolette told me when it comes to home field advantage. And the Predators didn't have home ice in the 2017 playoffs, and they felt as a team that if they had had the Cup final at Bridgestone Arena, the way that Bridgestone Arena was rocking in 17, that they would have won the Cup. That if Game 1 had been at Bridgestone instead of in Pittsburgh, that they would have won the Cup that year. That's what they believed. I'm not saying they're right. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just telling you that's what they thought. And I say this because the next year the Predators had home field or home ice advantage throughout the entire playoffs, and it got to Game 7 with Winnipeg, and I asked Laviolette a question about it, and Laviolette said to me after the series was over, he goes, I tried to tell you before Game 7 that in some series that matters. In this, it never mattered. It never mattered. Winnipeg won Game 1 in Nashville. Nashville won Game 4 in Winnipeg. Winnipeg won Game 5 in Nashville. Nashville won Game 6 in Winnipeg. Winnipeg won Game 7 in Nashville. Sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't. Tannehill and Mahomes have faced each other 3 times. The home quarterback has won every game. Nobody ever talks about that. Brady and Manning faced off in the playoffs 5 times. The home quarterback won all 5. Nobody ever talks about that. And that doesn't mean that it'll matter between Buffalo and Kansas City, or that it'll matter between Buffalo and Tennessee, or that it'll matter between Tennessee and Kansas City. But that's just how fickle of a nature the NFL playoffs are. You know that over the last 3 years, the home teams in Wild Card Weekend are 4-10.
That is nuts.
Home teams lose. Unbelievable. So, again, I think everybody is entitled to change their opinion. They're allowed to look at something and say, after this weekend, say, wait a minute, these red-hot Raiders just went into Cincinnati and they held the Bengals to 7 points. We need to take a look at the Raiders and take them a little bit more seriously. All of that, I think, is on the table after this weekend. I think you are allowed to feel that way. But I'm starting it off with this question. How comfortable do you feel, or how likely do you think it is that the Titans will make it to the Super Bowl? I am going with 51%. I think it is more likely than not that the Titans are going to the Super Bowl this year. Caroline, still going with Kansas City. Says 40% on the Titans. What do you think? 615-737-1025 is the phone number. 615-737-1025. Plus, I have talked myself into something. And I am going to open it up to you guys and to Caroline and to everybody else to see, is this me overthinking the playoffs? I'll explain. That's next. Here on a Fireball Hot Take Friday, 615-737-1025. So I had a long night, went to the Predators game last night, had a great time, woke up early, had to go to the airport this morning, had to get a lot done. Got a long day today because we've got our Titans playoff preview show at 5 o'clock tonight. And so, I'm going to have to drink a Focus. That's right, naturally caffeinated sparkling water with a spark. Drink Focus, P-H-O-C-U-S, drinkfocus.com. Unlike coffee, which could stain your teeth or give you bad breath, or unlike the artificial diet sodas with caffeine, or unlike these energy drinks that have things in them that could affect your heart, this is natural tea caffeine. It is a naturally energizing, brain-focusing, taste-analyzing hydrator, because it's water, that combines simple ingredients to create the perfect guilt-free pick-me-up that your body will crave to feel its best. I'm telling you, Focus. That's my drink of choice for a pick-me-up. It should be yours as well. You've had a long week. Do not crash. Get yourself a Focus. You can do so at any local Publix. Just go in there, look for Focus, or go online to Drink Focus, P-H-O-C-U-S, drinkfocus.com. Use the promo code GAME at checkout, J-M-E, for 15% off. That's Focus, naturally caffeinated sparkling water with a spark, drinkfocus.com.
Every day at Cromwell Media, we want to help make a difference. And over the holiday season, you made a difference with your contributions to Souls for Music City. Thank you for helping hundreds of kids in the Nashville area who experience homelessness get a new pair of shoes to start off 2022. We'd also like to thank Newton Motor Group and Souls for Souls from all of us at Cromwell Media and Nashville's Best Sports Talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game and ESPN 94.9.
Vanderbilt Commodore fans, your home for all the broadcasts with football and men's basketball games is 93.3 Classic Hits. Tune in each week as Andrew Allegretta and Kevin Ingram brings the fans the exciting SEC action on 93.3 Classic Hits.
Is that a horse?
Actually, it's a wild stallion. Since Navy Federal Credit Union's Platinum Card made it easier to tame our holiday debt, I wanted to see if I could tame something else.
Uh-huh.
Help me saddle up. I need to pick the kids up from school.
With a low intro APR on balance transfers, the Platinum Credit Card lets you take control of your debt. Learn more at NavyFederal.org/Platinum offer. Navy Federal Credit Union. Our members are the mission. Insured by NCUA.
One of the smartest things you can do for the new year is convert some of your home's equity into cash. You can do it right now with a zero-cost cash-out refi from Loan Pronto. Willie here. Call Loan Pronto now. They can fast-track your home refi and get you a check for 50, 60, 70 grand or more. And if you call now, Loan Pronto can even pay your closing costs. Listen, your home value is way up. Use it to your advantage. Get cash out now. Pay off those credit card debts. Consolidate other debts. Start that home improvement project and get your finances in great shape for 2022. Loan Pronto's refis usually close in just 2 weeks, and the process is easy. It's all digital. Call Loan Pronto now. Put that equity in your home to work towards financial freedom for the new year. Do it now, and you can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender. NMLS 166-1781. Subject to lender approval. Not all loans apply.
Tune in to ESPN 102.5 The Game every Tuesday afternoon at 4:30 for ESPN's Trevor Maddich joining me, Jared Stillman, on Stillman and Company as we dive deep into the college football world and all the latest from the SEC. It's all brought to you by Houston Clinic Orthopedics, when experience matters.
Check out the January clearance sale going on now at Social Furniture. You can save up to 70% off Ashley Furniture. Come first for the best selection of furniture before it's gone, and you don't want to miss out. Social Furniture has truckloads of the best selection of furniture. Get your nightstands, mattresses, bar stools, sofas, and recliners all on sale now with no waiting. You can take home your new furniture today. Visit Social Furniture on the west side at 5412 Charlotte Avenue or on the web at mysocialfurniture.com.
If you've missed any of today's show, just search Stillman and Company on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform.
Ryan, who do you think is going to have the tougher path to make it to the Super Bowl? The Packers or the Chiefs?
The Kansas City Chiefs. You know why?
Why?
Because they ain't that good. That's why. Because it's not.
I love you.
It's not the Kansas City Chiefs team that we've seen the last 3 years. It's not the Patrick Mahomes that we've seen for the last 3 years. This defense, when you look at the last 3 weeks of the season, isn't playing the caliber of football they were playing.
Here you go, Ryan Clark on ESPN saying Kansas City ain't that good. And boy, that panel, they did not want to hear Ryan Clark say Kansas City's not that good. They were like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Kansas City's not that good. Hey, this is ESPN. And at ESPN, you must say Kansas City is good at all times because they got Patrick Mahomes. How dare you go on ESPN and say something bad about Kansas City? And how dare you go to Fox and say something bad about the Rams? Have you noticed that about Fox and the Rams?
Oh, Fox loves the Rams.
Oh, my God.
But to Ryan Clark's point, I say, is there a team in the AFC that is really that good?
I'll ask it to you like this, right? We would say Green Bay is that way in the NFC. Fair?
Fair.
Okay. Tampa Bay goes to Green Bay for either the second round of the playoffs or the championship game.
Would not be surprised if Tampa Bay won.
I don't think
I put my money on it, but I wouldn't be surprised.
That's what the playoffs are all about. And it comes down to such little things in the playoffs. That's what gets me so worked up is college football's different. Because college, there's really only one or two teams that matter every year. And it's always been like the playoff has been kind of a charade, right? Like we've complained over the years about the third team that didn't get left in, that didn't get put in. And all that's led us to do is complain that the fifth team doesn't make it now. But didn't you feel like there were 2 teams this year?
Well, yeah, every year is different because sometimes I feel like there could be 8 teams that could be in contention, and sometimes I'm like, I'm good with a BCS-style championship. Like, I'm good with the fact that they are very clearly 2 best teams.
I told you.
I don't need 3 and 4.
I'd rather have 2 than 12. I mean, I'd like to have 8 just fine. All right, now it's kind of more NFL-ish, but it's probably the fairest it can be. It's not going to be the most interesting because you're going to have 52-3, type playoff games, which nobody wants to watch. But at least, the Pac-12, who nobody ever cares about, will get a crack at it. So, but I have no interest in 12. I've told you that. And everyone's like, what do you mean you have no interest in 12? Because we don't need it. College, we don't need it. The NFL is different. The NFL, the socialist government society that is the NFL that regulates everything, they want these games to be that close. Go back to last week. Last week, the number 1 seed in the AFC, Tennessee, played a horrible Texan team. Won by 3 points. The Kansas City Chiefs played a horrible Denver team with a backup quarterback who had nothing to play for and a coach that got fired the next day. That was a 1-score ball game. The Buffalo Bills were in the middle of a tough game with the Jets in the fourth quarter. Cincinnati didn't play all their guys, lost to Cleveland who had nothing to play for. The NFL is all about parity. It's all about coming down to 1 or 2 big plays in a ball game that absolutely changes everything. And sometimes when you go into the playoffs, people have a hard time wrapping their head around the fact that one bad coaching decision, Matt LaFleur, can cost you the Super Bowl. The Titans played at Kansas City in the AFC title game 2 years ago at a 17-7 lead. We all remember the Patrick Mahomes run where he ran around and the Titans were trying to strip the ball out, and they didn't. I mean, horrible effort from the Titans. But we all remember that play when we think of the AFC Championship game. But what we forget about is that the Titans got the ball up 17-14 with like 3 minutes and change to go in the half, and they were so afraid of giving the ball back to Mahomes that they tried to run Derrick Henry. Well, Kansas City knew, if we don't stop Derrick Henry on this series, we're in trouble. Because now Tennessee's got the lead going to halftime. They get a stop to start the second half, and then all of a sudden they can run that big boy, and they've got the confidence. And then once the Titans have confidence, we've seen this with Tannehill, that once you get confidence in Henry, now Tannehill rolls play action. Now there's a wide open Jonnu Smith who picks up 23 yards, and now you're in trouble. And the Titans are driving, and there was a holding call on Dennis Kelly. And that holding call on Dennis Kelly, I think, was on a 3rd and 1. I'd have to go back and look at it. But nobody ever talks about the holding call on Dennis Kelly. And I thought it was a so-so holding call, but these playoff games are decided by razor-thin margins. We're killing Indianapolis today and their general manager and their coach, and we think, oh, my God, Indy, they couldn't beat Jacksonville. They're terrible. They're this, they're that. They were the 7th seed last year. They lost by 3 points on the road at Buffalo. Hot Rod missed a field goal. The margin in these games are so thin, and that's the one thing I keep telling people about the playoffs. Right now, I think I've talked myself into this. I think Buffalo's better than Kansas City. And I don't know if it's because you look at the numbers, and again, I haven't watched every game that these teams have played. I'm not going to pretend to you that I have, and I'm not going to go back and watch them. Buffalo has the 3rd-ranked scoring offense and the top scoring defense in the NFL. Kansas City is 4th in offense, 8th in defense, though I trust Kansas City's offense more than I trust Buffalo's. Buffalo last lost December 12th in overtime at Tampa Bay. But stats will tell you it doesn't really matter how you're playing going into the playoffs. It's like the opposite of the NHL. But their last loss was December 12th in overtime at Tampa Bay. Last time I checked, Tampa Bay's a pretty good team. They have a 1 loss to a non-playoff team. That was their terrible game against Jacksonville. The Chiefs lost 2 weeks ago to Cincinnati and have 2 non-playoff losses, the Ravens and the Chargers. So I think that they're very, very tight right there between Buffalo and Kansas City. I don't give Kansas City an edge with coach, only because as successful as Andy Reid's regular season career has been, and as successful as he was 2 years ago in winning in the playoffs finally, you go back to Andy Reid's history, and there are a lot of losses in big playoff games that people are just stunned by, including last year's Super Bowl. Remember, Kansas City was the team to beat in the Super Bowl last year, not Tampa Bay. But I do wonder if this week I've talked myself into Buffalo over Kansas City. I wonder if it's watching the Denver game that I've talked myself into Buffalo over Kansas City. And they'll play next week if they both win, which there's no guarantee for either team. But they will play each other next week at Arrowhead. I think Buffalo's better than Kansas City. I think the difference at quarterback, where I think Kansas City has a better quarterback, is overcome by the fact that I think Buffalo's better on defense. I think Buffalo has better wide receivers than Kansas City. I think Buffalo has a better offensive line than Kansas City. And quite frankly, I think Buffalo is playing better right now than Kansas City. I think we're too caught up in Kansas City from 2019, Kansas City from 2018. And I will say this about Kansas City. Kansas City loves to get down in playoff games. 17-7 to the Titans, 24-0 to the Texans. But you play that game too often. You can get away with it against Jimmy Garoppolo in the Super Bowl. You don't get away with it against Tom Brady. People say, well, that defense for Tampa Bay won them that Super Bowl, and that was... No, Kansas City was following the formula. They get down by a lot, and then they come back, and they win the game in the fourth quarter. Same formula that they won the last Super Bowl by. The difference? Tom Brady made them pay before the half. Tom Brady made them pay at the start of the second half. I look at Buffalo, and I think this team might be the most complete team in the AFC. And the biggest thing for the Titans in their advantage with Buffalo is that they'd be playing at Nissan Stadium and that Tennessee has beaten Buffalo. It has the confidence to beat Buffalo. It has the running game to control the clock and beat Buffalo and to make it ugly. But I do wonder if I've talked myself into Buffalo over Kansas City. And that if this week, if Belichick goes out there, puts together a great game plan, and Kansas City wins by 55 against Pittsburgh, which is possible, that maybe I'll say, oh, nope, everybody, you guys are right, Ryan Clark was wrong. But Kansas City, the class of the AFC.
My question to you is, if Kansas City keeps it close with Pittsburgh, I think that says a whole lot more than if Kansas City blows Pittsburgh out. Like, if Kansas City blows out Pittsburgh by 55, like, yes, that's impressive because you're blowing out another NFL team, another playoff team by 55 points. But that also, to me, in my head, is like, that's what Kansas City is supposed to do.
Sure.
But if Kansas City wins by a field goal, that I think carries so much more weight than Kansas City blowing them out.
So you know what's crazy about this? And I could be totally wrong when it comes to trying to figure out the AFC or figure out, what matters in football. I do think a couple things. Like, and I told you, I'm going to change my mind based on these games. But sometimes I also think that blowing your opponent out in the playoffs is not necessarily the greatest thing. Because I think sometimes it leads you to become too cocky. It's like, I expect Kansas City to blow out Pittsburgh, but you brought up, if it's a field goal game. Let's say it's an ugly, just terrible field goal game, and Pittsburgh fumbles at the end, and that's why they lose.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to kill Kansas City. Everybody around the country is going to talk about Kansas City like, forget about Kansas City.
They could barely beat the Steelers.
Forget about them. But what did I tell you during the season? When you're getting ready to play an opponent, what do you want them to do?
Blow out their opponent the week before.
Oh, just get fat and happy. Let's think about the Bengals. The Bengals are playing the Raiders. I think it's a very interesting playoff game. I am very excited to watch it tomorrow. Let's say that the Bengals win 41-21.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, and I just electric. Like Jamar Chase has 183 receiving yards.
Cannot be stopped.
Cannot stop Cincinnati. Every time they get the ball, it's touchdown. Every time. You'd be like, oh, wow, this is going to be look at this offense. Look at what they're doing. I would welcome that. I would rather that happen than they win at the last second on a field goal, hard-fought game, Cincinnati wins. I'd much rather have it be a blowout and then have everybody on national TV all week, Joe Burrow is the king. And I feel that same way about, I think that when it comes to Kansas City playing Pittsburgh, are they going to have some of that?
And I also think, too, not only is that good for boosting the ego of Kansas City and Cincinnati if they blow out their opponents this weekend, but I also think that's good for the Titans.
Oh, yeah.
If their next opponent completely blows out whoever their opponent is this weekend, I mean, that's going to be good for the Titans because all the talk is going to be about the Chiefs, about the Bengals, and about can the Titans beat that team. And if the Bengals barely squeak out a win, then there's going to be a lot of pro-Titans talk. And we have seen recently pro-Titans talk is not a good thing for the Titans.
Pro-Titans talk. When I go over this, the fact that, Buffalo has one loss to a non-playoff team, and you say Kansas City has 2 losses to non-playoff teams, nobody loses to more non-playoff teams than the Titans.
That's true.
I mean, and you can look at this either way you want. The Titans beat the playoff teams. They beat Buffalo. They beat the Rams. They beat Kansas City. I mean, the games that are big games, they got to win. They won every single one of them this year, except for Arizona. And even then, I don't think we thought of Arizona as a legitimate playoff team.
And Pittsburgh.
Oh, yeah, I guess Pittsburgh is technically
a playoff team.
Yeah. They are in the playoffs. There is that. But, I mean, they really, they lost games they had no business losing. But is that a bad thing? Or is that a good thing? Because, hey, they'll get up for these games. 615-737-1025. We'll go to your phone, 615-737-1025. I got to tell you, this weekend is a fun, the wild card weekend is a fun weekend to enjoy. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. I do have there's an interesting ESPN ranking about Ryan Tannehill. And I want to get to that, and we'll do that coming up next. 615-737-1025. We'll also get to your phones. Stillman & Company on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. I love Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey. Why? Because Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey is the best way to kickstart your weekend. It's going to be cold, and so a lot of you, when it snows over the weekend, and it's supposed to snow big, you guys are all going to be at home watching playoff football. And I know you're probably you're going to have your food and your chips and your dips and your beers and what about Fireball? What about Fire? It's the playoffs, which means it is Fireball time. So pick up some Fireball as you stock up for the snow. Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey. Please drink responsibly and be 21 years or older to enjoy. That's Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey.
Saturday.
Back to Johansson, and Johansson tips it in with one hand on the stick.
Ryan Johansson and the Predators hit the road to take on Craig Smith and the Bruins.
Yeah, you just got to be mentally tough.
Pre-game at 11, face-off at noon on Smashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Winter's a bad time for your furnace to go out, but it's never a bad time to call Lee Company. Our heating and air conditioning pros are available 24/7. No heat? Don't wait. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000. Our expert technicians will diagnose the issue and fix it right the first time. When you're cold, you need someone you can count on to bring the heat. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
Men, let's have an honest talk about sex, because for just about all of us, sex is a pretty big deal. Here's the problem. If you're a man over 40, it's likely you're living with erectile dysfunction. But men don't talk about ED because it's embarrassing, it's taboo, and so many of us just suffer in silence year after year. And all the while, ED affects your relationships, your attitude, even your outlook on life. If ED is affecting you, call the Tennessee Men's Clinic. They offer treatments that are effective in nearly 90% of cases, even if pills and herbals have failed, and often regardless of medical condition. For just $99, you'll get a medical consult, blood work, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if that test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. Get treated. If you're like most men, you could get your sex life back. Call the Tennessee Men's Clinic at 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Contact your doctor if an erection lasts more than 4 hours. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra. Results vary.
Hey, what's up? It's Chase McCabe and BetMGM. I love BetMGM. They welcome you with a special offer on the Pro Football Playoffs. All you have to do is place a $10 moneyline wager on any game. If either team scores a touchdown, you'll win $200 in free bets regardless of your bet's outcome. All you have to do is use the bonus code 1025GAME200 when you make your first bet. Enjoy the playoffs like never before and earn M-Life rewards that you can use for rooms and dining at any MGM resort nationwide. Download the app or go to BetMGM.com. Use that code 1025GAME200 to win $200 in free bets if a touchdown is scored in a pro football playoff game. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 years of age or older to wager. Tennessee only. New customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable free bets or site credit. Free bets expire 7 days from issuance. For problem gambling support, call the Tennessee Red Line at 800-889-9789.
ESPN's Turon Davenport breaks down the Titans like no other.
On the field chemistry, I don't think it's going to be a problem. It's just going to be a process.
Catch TD Mondays at 11, Thursdays at 3, and Fridays at 8. Plus, the Talking with TD podcast drops every Wednesday.
When you draft players, it's not just for one season, it's for a career.
Presented by FreedomTireGuys.com, Nashville's premier mobile tire company, and Craneworks and RentalWorks, your source for crane and equipment rental. Visit Craneworks.com. Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, this is Philip Forsberg. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 1025 The Game.
From your perspective, does playoff performance maybe ultimately define a quarterback?
Well, I don't know. You guys define quarterbacks however you want to. For me, I think you want to play your best football in late in the season into the playoffs. I know the reason we play this game is to go win a championship. That's the reason I play. I'm chasing after it, year after year, day after day, and try to do everything I can to not skip steps in getting there. And we have an opportunity here, and you don't want to look past it, don't want to miss any steps along the way, and do everything we can to go win it.
There you go. That was Ryan Tannehill. And I will say this about Tannehill. I do think a championship matters more to him than anything else. And every quarterback in the playoffs is trying to win a championship. But, I'll use Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers as the example. I don't think a championship means as much to Aaron Rodgers as it does to Tom Brady. I just think Aaron's more selfish than Tom. Tom loves the team. Plus, Aaron wins another championship, then maybe it increases his leverage with Green Bay, but just doesn't seem like Aaron is solely motivated by winning titles and team awards. But I'm not sure how much that matters. Seth Walder, ESPN Analytics, Caroline, your favorite, ranked quarterbacks going into the playoffs. And he writes, quote, quarterbacks alone can't make a Super Bowl run, but let's be honest, they're the biggest factor in one, and it isn't close. And so heading into the 2021 NFL playoffs, let's rank the players at the most important position for all 14 teams. He says, to rank the quarterbacks, I'm relying on a variety of advanced metrics. Note that I am considering these quarterbacks in a vacuum. Imagine they had the same team around them and they were facing the same set of opponents. First of all, I don't know how you consider that. Ryan Tannehill's had a bad season this year, but everybody will tell you that it's because A.J. Brown hasn't been in there, Julio Jones hasn't been in there, Derrick Henry hasn't been in there, Arthur Smith is out, Todd Downing is in. I don't know how even the metrics that you take away from the games, I don't know how you can't factor in Tannehill's performance this year, which is not based solely upon, or it is based a lot around who's around him, but I digress. Mahomes 1, no surprise there. Brady 2, Aaron Rodgers 3, Josh Allen 4, Joe Burrow 5, Kyler Murray 6, Dak Prescott 7, Matthew Stafford 8, Ryan Tannehill 9. Do you have any argument with any quarterback that's ranked ahead of Tannehill, again, by these analytics, not by us, but by these analytics that are ranking Tannehill 9th?
No, I think that's actually a pretty fair ranking.
Okay, Derek Carr is behind Tannehill.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people in the last 4 weeks have decided they like Derek Carr again after not liking him for 2 years.
Well, it's all about the recency bias.
Jimmy Garoppolo's 11. He sucks. Mac Jones, 12. He's young.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Hurts, 13. He's probably a backup. Ben Roethlisberger, 14. He's retired.
Yes.
Okay. Of all the teams that are behind Tannehill, none of them, I think, have a legitimate shot at the Super Bowl. I don't even think Pittsburgh fans think they have a shot at the Super Bowl.
Do you think the Rams have a shot at the Super Bowl?
Television's going to tell you they do. I don't think they do. I think their road's too tough. They're essentially a dome team. They play in an indoor stadium in Los Angeles, and they're going to have to go on the road after they play Arizona, a team that already beat them once this season. they're going to have to go on the road for every game, and that would be like across the country to Tampa and then up to Lambeau Field. And so, no, I think the Rams are too reliant on Cooper Kupp. I don't think they have a great running game. I think their coach is overrated. So I would say no, but television would tell you, yes, the Rams are a Super Bowl contender.
Because I think it's interesting. It feels like, according to what the ESPN talking heads say, that between this list, above Tannehill, all feels like those are the teams that are being talked about to actually make it to the Super Bowl. And the quarterbacks ranked below Tannehill all kind of feel like those teams that are thrown in there because they have to have 7 teams in each conference.
Like, we can all agree, like, Jalen Hurts, and I love Jalen Hurts, the guy. I think he's one of the best guys in the NFL. Jalen Hurts is not taking the Eagles to the Super Bowl this year.
I don't think so.
Jimmy Garoppolo, we saw Jimmy 3 weeks ago. He stinks. That 49er team, I know they played a good game against the Rams last week, or a good half against the Rams, and I love Deebo Samuel, and they've got a good tight end, but like that San Francisco team is not good enough to go compete for a championship. Not where it would be Dallas, Green Bay, Tampa Bay. You're not, see ya. No shot there. We know Ben's not going to the Super Bowl. Ben knows Ben's not going to the Super Bowl.
I don't think Mac Jones is the type of quarterback that can lead a team to the Super Bowl.
No, and
at least not yet.
I think I've soured on New England. I think they kind of hit a wall. They peaked at the beginning of December. A lot went their way. Belichick coached them up, but that's probably the best that they are. So what do we make of the fact that Tannehill is right there on the cut line between the contenders and the pretenders? I find it interesting.
I find it very interesting. When I first saw that article, I kind of expected Ryan Tannehill to be ranked lower. But like looking at the full list, I think he's in an appropriate place, kind of sandwiched between those, what people think are the quote-unquote elite quarterbacks versus the quarterbacks who lead not as great of teams. But I do find it very interesting because it seems like Ryan Tannehill is the cutoff point and could be grouped into either group of quarterbacks that lead teams that actually have a chance and quarterbacks that really don't.
Here's the one thing everybody's got to understand. I find it very difficult to think that the Titans can get to the Super Bowl without Ryan Tannehill making a big play. Now, it doesn't have to be a great play. It doesn't have to be the play he made the other night against the Texans, that spin out, avoid the sack, throw it down the field for 35 yards.
But like the pass to AJ in the San Francisco game.
It's going to be like the pass to Jonnu Smith for the touchdown against Baltimore. It's going to be like the throws to Ferkser in New England. Like, he's going to have to do something. I go back to that drive right before the half against Kansas City in the AFC title game where everybody in the ballpark knew Derek was getting the ball, and Kansas City sold out to stop it because so much was at stake if Tennessee could score and eat the clock before the half, and everybody knew it. And that's where it's like, if Tannehill makes a play where he sees Kansas City or Buffalo or whomever is stacking the box and it's teetering right there and he sees they're doing it, and all of a sudden he checks out and he throws that ball that he threw to AJ against Kansas City when Kansas City had everybody up against the line this year. Kansas City had everybody, and he just put the ball in the end zone, and AJ just went up and got it. If he makes that play, I think that you're going to the Super Bowl. But I think he's going to have to make one. But I do think it's kind of interesting. This does feel, regardless of what fans want to believe right now, it does feel like these playoffs will be a referendum on Tannehill. That how he performs in these playoffs are going to be kind of what defines how you feel about him. It kind of reminds me of Rick Barnes at Tennessee, where he's won a lot of games as head coach of the Vols. Vol fans love Rick Barnes. He's got good recruiting classes, he keeps it interesting, and he gets the team to the tournament. But Rick Barnes' tournament record is what it is. And it's one thing to say, okay, yeah, we didn't play a good game against Loyola Chicago, and Sister Jean prayed them to the Final Four, and that's one thing. It's another thing when you get smoked by Oregon State in the first round of the tournament. I think Vol fans are going to be looking at Rick Barnes if they get in the NCAA tournament this year as a 5 seed, get blown out by 12, and they're not going to be very happy. I think that may be where Tannehill is. 615-737-1025. Add that to the list. We'll get to your phones next because I did promise it. And it is your day. It's a Fireball Hot Take Friday. Stillman and Company right here on ESPN 1025 The Game. Hey, today's show is going to be cut an hour short because we've got our Titans playoff preview show. That's right. So join us from 5 to 7 tonight for the NFL playoff show with me, Chris Sanders, and Teron Davenport as we break down the upcoming playoffs for the Titans. The NFL playoff preview show is presented by Mercedes-Benz of Music City, Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, Toyo's Clinic, Smile, LASIK, and Hair Restoration, and the Hard Rock Cafe. Stillman and Company, it's ESPN 1025 The Game.
From Fox 17 News, this is a Code Red Weather Alert.
I'm Fox 17 meteorologist Greg Bobis. Today, not much to worry about. Temperatures in the mid to upper 40s, partly cloudy. Rain settles in for a good portion of your Saturday, and then a rain-snow mix, transitioning to only snow on Sunday.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
It's the official Bud Light Preds watch party as the Nashville Predators take on the Boston Bruins this Saturday. Puck drops at noon, but the party starts at 11:30 with all kinds of specials. See you at headquarters, Beercade, downtown Nashville on 2nd Avenue. Go Preds!
Your home value is way up. Why not use that equity to make your house even nicer for the new year? Hey, Willie Donick here talking about a cash-out refi with Loan Pronto. So call Loan Pronto now. They're fast-tracking home refis for the new year, and people are getting checks for $60, $70, $100 grand or more. And right now, Loan Pronto can even cover all your closing costs. Listen, your home's value is way up. All you have to do is convert that equity into cash. Cash for a new luxurious kitchen or a new home office, or start that swimming pool so you can use it for the summer. Call Loan Pronto now. You can even close in as little as 2 weeks with a big check. Do it now and you can even skip your next 2 house payments. So make 2022 the year you fix up your home and reinvest with Loan Pronto's help. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval. Not all loans apply.
Hey guys, it's the new year. Are you still struggling with erectile dysfunction? I've yet to meet anyone that enjoys timing those intimate moments around a pill. Well, now you don't have to. The advanced wave technology at Hillside Medical has been shown by Cambridge University and the Cleveland Clinic to restore and even regrow blood vessels. It can improve circulation and eliminate erectile dysfunction. No pills and no side effects. If you're ready to put a stop to your ED, call us in the next 2 minutes and you'll receive a consultation, assessment, and blood flow ultrasound free, plus a special gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. You're going to love that. Trust me. This is a $600 value, free to callers now. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Guys, get rid of your ED and get that spark back. Call Hillside Medical now to qualify. 615-576-5000.
Hey, it's Elijah Campbell from Darren, Donick, and Chase, and I got my radio start right here as an intern at ESPN 1025 The Game. It was an excellent experience, and we're now looking for new interns. If you think that's you, go ahead and send your resume over to together@cromwellmedia.com to apply.
Robbie Stanley.
Coming in off the water. Yeah. Coming in there to tailgate.
Joe Rexroad.
That was fun.
Get your morning started with Robbie and Rexroad every weekday from 6 to 10. Presented by Volunteer State Bank on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This is Stillman and Company, delivered by TriStar Moving.
Stillman and Company, Fireball Hot Take Friday. Road teams. In the wild card round of the playoffs, road teams are 10-4 in the last 3 seasons. That includes the Titans at New England, where they beat Tom Brady. The last pass Tom Brady ever threw, a pick six by Logan Ryan. The last pass he ever threw as a Patriot. And that includes the Titans losing last year at home to Baltimore. In the playoffs. And again, road teams 10-4 in the wild card round the last 3 seasons, which is astounding.
Crazy.
I mean, it is wild to me to think about that. While we can look at these games and think, oh yeah, well, when you listen to these Robbie and Rexroad FanDuel spots, And it's like, yeah, I feel really good about the Cowboys beating the 49ers. I'm like, what? Like, that's the one that you look at and you're
that
like,
game
oh, yeah,
honestly could go either way.
That's what I...
The 49ers are a little sneaky.
I feel it a lot better than I feel about Pittsburgh beating Kansas City, but that's neither here nor there. Let's go to your phone, 615-737-1025. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com on a Fireball Hot Take Friday.
Ben texts in about his percentages that he gives each AFC team of making it to the Super Bowl and says Titans 35%, Chiefs 25%, Bills 15%, Patriots and Bengals both 10%, and the Raiders and Steelers 5% combined. That is more realistic. Nobody should be near 50% when they have to play 2 or 3 games still.
So here's my thing about the Chiefs, and this is an interesting point, which is everybody's picking the Chiefs out of the AFC.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we can all agree that on paper, Buffalo is better than any team Tennessee would have to play in the second round of the playoffs. So the Raiders, the Bengals, those teams. Buffalo has the number 1 scoring defense in the NFL. They have the number 3 scoring offense. They have a franchise quarterback. They have playoff experience. Like, Buffalo's a good team. And so the Chiefs will play a harder game than you for the second game that they have to play. But they also have to win this first game. And that's the thing that I feel like nobody takes into account is just by basic statistics. If every game was 50-50, you would have a 25% chance of winning 2 games. Now, we know it's not 50-50, but Kansas City, as far as talking about percent chance that you think they can get to the Super Bowl, they have to win another game. And then they'd have to come here, where they've never beaten Ryan Tannehill as the quarterback. They've never beaten Derrick Henry in Nashville. Derrick Henry is 3-1 in his career against the Chiefs.
That's crazy.
That includes winning a playoff game at Arrowhead Stadium. Like, I mean, and no one factors that stuff in. What's next?
Andrew checks in and says, I don't trust anyone's prediction if it's based off of last year. Back-to-back is practically impossible in the NFL. The Chiefs are not making the Super Bowl. But you got to remind Andrew that the Chiefs did go to the Super Bowl back-to-back years.
So I think there's a little bit of truth to that. Kansas City should have gone to the Super Bowl in 2018, too. They didn't. New England won in overtime, and it wasn't like that mattered in 2019 because New England got knocked out in the wild card round. Kansas City won the Super Bowl. So I would agree with the premise of the text, or what happened last year doesn't matter. Here's the thing, though. What happened last week doesn't matter.
It's true.
That's the thing people are having a hard time with. New Orleans embarrassed. I mean, they embarrassed Tampa Bay last year twice. Double-digit wins, including, like, I don't remember the exact score, but it was something crazy, like 42-10 on Sunday Night Football in early November. Tampa goes on the road and wins in a playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
Those things, like, it just, maybe confidence matters in some cases, but I would agree with the texter. The one thing I would say is I just don't feel like Kansas City is as good as they were 2 years ago. I don't think their players are as good. I don't think their offensive line is as good as it was 2 years ago. I mean, the best player on their offensive line right now is a rookie guard, Trey Smith. They've got question marks at both tackle spots. Thuney, the guard, has played okay. But, I mean, there are a lot of questions. Remember how we just dogged the Kansas City offensive line. Mm-hmm. And not only that, they came in here. They were awful. Now, again, it doesn't matter what they did in October. Mm-hmm. This is January. But, I mean, to sit there and say, Kansas City's been there before, Kansas City will be there again, like, this isn't the NBA.
And also to the texter's point, saying, I don't trust anyone's opinion about last year, and then references something that happened last year as to why they don't think that the Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl.
Sure. I think there's some level of this, too, that, like, do you believe in the Chiefs? And I think most everybody believes in the Chiefs. There's, like, something that keeps them from wanting to be able to not believe in the Chiefs. And I think quarterback certainly plays a large role into this. But it's like, and I'm not just saying TV, because I think fans are the same way. When you talk about Kansas City, it's like, oh, Kansas City, yes, yes, yes. And I feel the same way about Green Bay. But when you prop up Kansas City, you talk about what they did in the past. When you talk about Green Bay, you don't discuss at all what happened in past years. It's like, Green Bay, Matt LaFleur, he's been winning all these games in the regular season. That's all anybody ever tells me about. How many games Green Bay wins in the regular season every year? They got smoked in the NFC title game 2 years ago against San Francisco with Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback, and they got beat at home last year by Brady and the Bucs. But nobody factors that in. I think Green Bay's going to the Super Bowl out of the NFC.
But I also wouldn't be surprised if Tampa Bay beat Green Bay. And I think that's the same thing, like
Sure.
the been there before factor that people are factoring in for Kansas City.
Right. I wouldn't be surprised if Tampa Bay beat Green Bay. I'd be surprised if Dallas beat Green Bay.
I would
Like,
agree with
I
that.
would be like, whoa, Dallas
Like,
just
I
went
would not be shocked if San Francisco beat Dallas. I don't think they are going to, but if they did upset Dallas, that wouldn't be the craziest thing I've ever heard.
Okay, so if the last 3 years are 10-4 for road teams, that would tell us that of the 6 games this week, 4 are going to be won by road teams.
Would it?
Yes. 10-4?
Yes. Okay, yes.
Like you're talking 60%?
Right.
So basically 3. I can't see 4 road teams winning this week.
That would be, New England beating Buffalo.
The Raiders would have to win against the Bengals. That would be the Raiders and 49ers would have to win because those feel like probably the closest games. Arizona would probably have to win. And then you would need another one. Like, I don't see Philadelphia beating Tampa Bay.
No, I don't see Pittsburgh beating Kansas City.
But it happens.
It could.
615-737-1025. The Titans cannot lose this week, no matter what NFL Network says. The Titans cannot lose this week. But one former Titan is a little worried about what this week might do to the Titans. We'll discuss that next. Stillman and Company right here. Fireball Hot Take Friday. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Take us wherever you may go.
There's going to be a whole lot of work going on.
Tune us in anywhere, anytime.
I think he has some big play in him.
Just search The Game Nashville in your app store and download today. And keep it locked on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Are you a father that is passionate about your fundamental constitutional right to parent your own child or children? Has your parenting time or your income been affected by COVID? This is Amanda J. Gentry, and I am a fierce defender of your constitutional rights. The courts in Tennessee are under an obligation to maximize equal parenting time. We do not live in an every other weekend world anymore. At the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry, fathers are extremely important, much like my own father was. Go to AmandaJGentry.com or call or text 615-604-6263. That's AmandaJGentry.com.
Get some relief from the wintry mix outside with the hottest deals at Electronic Express. Deals are heating up on all 4K TVs, computers and gaming, smart home, housewares, and more. Avoid the roads with in-stock and ready-to-deliver appliances. Up to 40% off brands like LG, Whirlpool, GE, Samsung, and more. Plus, get up to 36 months free financing. The prices are falling faster than the snow at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Hey everybody, Robbie Stanley here to tell you about my friends at Jasper's. Jasper's is a casual restaurant and bar located on West End Avenue, equipped with TVs, a game room available for private events, a grab-and-go market, and free parking. Yes, free parking. This neighborhood spot is Nashville's new go-to restaurant and bar. You can try their selection of elevated bar food ranging from appetizers to chicken sandwiches to flatbread pizzas and the famous Smash Burger, as well as any of their delicious cocktails. So visit my friends at Jasper's, located at 1918 West End Avenue, and tell them that Robbie sent you.
Wow, I've got a whole 5 minutes before my next call. What should I do? Grab a snack? Nah. Text with mom? That's more than a 5-minute proposition. I have been looking at getting a new bank account. Is that even possible?
Can't believe you have extra time? You won't believe what you can do with it. Open a Regions checking account online in as little as 5 minutes. Then enjoy award-winning service and banking tools and tech that help you live in the moment. Learn more at regions.com/live-in-the-moment. Regions Bank, member FDIC.
Hi, I'm Dr. Melissa Toyos from Toyos Clinic, hair restoration specialist. I've worked in the field of hair restoration for over 20 years and recently authored the book Hair Science. We have solutions to restore your hair like PRP, topical and oral medication, and now the latest technology, SmartGraft FUE. No visible scar, quick recovery time, restoring your natural hair that will never fall out. You can't control losing your hair, but you can control getting it back. Toyos Clinic, call us today. See better, look better.
Jackson Hewitt needs you to know 3 things about filing taxes this year. 1, there are thousands of dollars worth of new tax credits on the table. 2, you have to file for them to make sure you get the right amount. 3, a Jackson Hewitt Tax Pro will help track down every credit you deserve. Tax credits for being a parent, taking care of a parent, going to school, and so much more. You don't want to miss out on thousands. Jackson Hewitt knows that. Discover thousands in tax credits and get your biggest refund guaranteed. Learn more at jacksonhewitt.com.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, broadcasting 97.5 Murfreesboro, 106.3 Williamson County,
ESPN
102.5 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Live from the Game Nashville studios, it's Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. With Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 102.5. The Game streaming live, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and now Facebook Live, thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry. Fireball Hot Take Friday, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. So yesterday, I think some people were angry in the text line when I said that the Titans are a Patriots replicated organization.
Oh, yeah, people did not like that.
People don't like that. I think it's crazy. The best team the last 20 years, everybody's tried to emulate them. Everybody's failed. The Titans have done it successfully. And Titan fans are like, we are not a Patriot organization
Because
now.
they want to be the Titans.
Okay.
They want to have their own identity.
Okay. Well.
But you love the Patriots, so that's a different compliment for you.
Okay, but I don't care about Georgia football, but I know that that's an Alabama. That's a Nick Saban Alabama organization.
But if somebody said, like, LSU wants to be like Alabama, I'd be like, well, of course they don't. No, they do not. They want to be LSU, which at the core of it, that's really a good thing because Alabama's won a heck of a lot more championships than LSU has.
I had to give Tennessee credit because when they hired Jeremy Pruitt, Tennessee fans were pretty much like, yeah, we want to be like Alabama. Like, they were like, yeah, we want to build an Alabama
At least you can admit it.
Like, we want to build an Alabama team.
Which, in reality, as much as I hate Alabama, who wouldn't want to build an Alabama team?
I can live with that. But what about the bye week? Because the Titan way, we're the Titans, Jared. That has a lot of Titan fans worried. 2000, Titans, best team in the league, got a bye. Miss 4 field goals, interception return for a touchdown, lose to the Ravens. Goodbye, dream season. 2008, Titans had a bye week. Get knocked off by Baltimore once again. Joe Flacco, rookie quarterback, coming into Nissan Stadium, the number 1 seed Titans, who had wrapped it up around Christmas, kind of took that last week off against Indianapolis, had a bye week, not ready to play against Baltimore. Goodbye, one and done. In fact, the one time they did win when they had the bye, it took overtime against the Steelers in 2002. That's not very good. Now, when Bill Belichick and the Patriots have the number 1 seed, they go to the Super Bowl 75% of the time. They went to the Super Bowl in 2003. They went to the Super Bowl in 2007, 2011, 2014, 2016, 2017. 2010, they lost the first game in the divisional round against the Jets. 2012, they lost the AFC Championship game to Baltimore at home. And other than that, they're in the Super Bowl. By the way, did you know that Bill Belichick, they've never played a road game on Wild Card Weekend until tomorrow? That in 20 years of Belichick coaching the Patriots, they've never played a road game on Wild Card Weekend.
That is nuts.
The
I didn't realize that.
Under Belichick are also 1-2 in home games on Wild Card Weekend.
Which goes back to that same stat of teams are 10-4 on the road on Wild Card Weekend.
So the Titans, when it comes to the Titan way, we want to be the Titans. 1-2, 1 win, overtime after a bye. The Patriot way, the one that you guys don't like, 75% of the time you're a 1 seed, you're in the Super Bowl. Now, I think the Titans operate more like the Patriots than you all want to admit. Chris Sanders, former Titan receiver, he was on the 2000 and the 2002 teams that had buys. And he was on our show Wednesday, and he was worried about what the bye week could do to the Titans.
I mean, there's a good and a bad. I mean, you know you love the bye week because you want to get everybody healthy. I mean, if you look at the Tennessee Titans, this is the healthy that they've ever been. I mean, Julio Jones gets another week, and then you got, the big dog, Derrick Henry coming back. So that's the good part about it. But the bad part about it is sometimes if you take a week off, you get a little rusty because you want to keep that momentum going. I know that's a cliche, and we say this thing about momentum, but look at what the Tennessee Titans did in the last 3 weeks. They have a lot of momentum on offense. They have a lot of momentum on defense, and they have a little bit of momentum on special teams. So sometimes you kind of lose that oomph when you take a week off. Because if you look at it in 1999, not 1999, but 2000, when we lost to the Baltimore Ravens, we were firing on all cylinders before we got into the playoffs. And then we hit a red-hot team, the Baltimore Ravens. And with the Baltimore Ravens, you cannot make mistakes. We had 469 yards. They had 76 yards, but we had 3 turnovers. So that's the only thing that I'm concerned. But on the flip side of that, I think Mike Vrabel, J-Rob, and all those other coaches are not going to let him even think about that.
Okay. Chris Sanders tormented by his own past because of the bye, but says, hey, I don't think Vrabel and J-Rob are going to let them do that. Oh, yeah. Patriots. Chris, and we've talked to Chris about this for a month. He'll be on the playoff preview show tonight at 5 o'clock. But haven't you noticed with Chris Sanders, it feels like there's a little bit of a nervousness when it comes to talking about the bye?
Oh, yeah.
Nobody else wants to talk about the bye like this, but he's the one guy because he's lived it. So he's kind of telling us, hey, like, I'm a little nervous about the bye. I'm skeptical of what it'll mean.
Well, and I do remember, let's backtrack to the Titans' regular season bye week. I asked Chris Sanders, what did you do during the bye when you were a player? He said, everything but football. I'd sit on my butt on the couch and eat Cheetos and watch movies all week. So I don't know if there's a good bit of that of when he was a player and it was that thought of like, okay, now this is my week completely off. And he's worried that mindset might get into the Titans. It might, make them lose their edge a little bit. I just have a hard time thinking that a Mike Vrabel coach team would do that.
What did I tell you earlier in the week? Those past teams that people are worried about, coached by Jeff Fisher. And you guys may want to do things the Titan way and not the Patriot way, but I don't want to do things the Jeff Fisher way. I'm sorry. Pass on the Jeff Fisher way.
I'm good on Jeff Fisher.
Tom Brady, man in the arena, in the latest one, the finale, talked about the bye week and how they in New England approached the bye week. Here's what Brady said.
2001, we had similar experience where we were up and down and found a way to play our best in the playoffs. One of the great advantages, again, that I thought our teams always had was we took advantage of the extra time to not rest, but to get better and improve. There's a lot of humility in that. It's like you have to be able to address the things that we're not good at. And we go to that postseason and it was like, yeah, we're not probably on paper the strongest team.
So he told you there's humility in the bye week, the way that they approach the bye week. Chris Sanders, worried about the bye week, kick my feet up, watch football, eat the Cheetos, whatever, the Jeff Fisher way. Mike Vrabel comes to the Titans, and I think deep down inside everybody knows this. This is a Patriot organization. We talked about it all day yesterday, but they run things like the Patriots. Now, is he Belichick? No, but I think there's a lot of Belichick to him. And there's a lot of Belichick to what he's doing. And the reason I say this is, you think it's an accident that he's 8-0 with extended rest? You think that, again, the Patriots, when they get the number 1 seed, they get the bye in the playoffs, 75% of the time, they're in the Super Bowl. I highly doubt that for teams that get the bye, that it's a 75% success rate with the number 1 seed to get to the Super Bowl. Maybe it is, but I kind of doubt it. But that's just the way they approach the bye. Brady told you. That was a year, 2018. We didn't think we were the best team. Now, they had a bye. They were the 2 seed because this was back when the 1 and the 2 seed got the bye. And they said, look, on paper, we knew we weren't the best team. So we knew we had to get better during the bye. And that's exactly what they did. And then they got a Charger team that came in there that people thought, this red-hot Chargers team, they beat Lamar Jackson in Baltimore, and they took care of the Chargers, and all they had to do was go to Kansas City and beat Kansas City, which they did in overtime. But they're back in the Super Bowl. They had a bye. I think Vrabel approaches it the way that it was approached when he was a player because he knows it worked, so that's what he's doing, and that's why I don't feel the same feeling that Chris Sanders has that I definitely felt before the 2008 playoffs after having experienced the 2000 playoffs, that, the Titans are going to lose some of their zip going into this bye week. I don't feel that way because I think the Titans are more modeled like the Patriots than they are like the old Titans that Chris is worried about. Corey Curtis, News 2, will join us next, 615-737-1025. His thoughts on this weekend, his thoughts on what the best matchup might be for the Tennessee Titans. Plus, the AFC South is an unmitigated disaster outside of the Titans. I figure we'll spend some time on that because next week, we don't need to worry about what the Texans are doing at head coach next week. We need to be worried about whoever the Titans are playing in the divisional round of the playoffs. Corey Curtis, News 2, will join us coming up here on the program. It is a Fireball Hot Take Friday. Let me tell folks about FanDuel Sportsbook. That's my official sportsbook app. Wild Card Weekend just got a little wilder because FanDuel Sportsbook is hooking up new customers with 30-1 enhanced odds. That means you can bet $5 to win $150 on any team to win any wild card game. I have told you all week, I think the Steelers are the team that is just totally overmatched. Pick Kansas City, and I feel pretty strongly about that. Just sign up for the FanDuel Sportsbook app, make a deposit to claim your 30-1 enhanced odds. There's no better place to bet the NFL playoffs than on America's #1 sportsbook. It's simple and easy to use with generous promotions every day, and when you win, FanDuel will pay your winnings in as little as 2 hours. Already have FanDuel Sportsbook? Well, they're going to hook up all customers with $50 when you refer a friend, and your friend will get $50 too. Don't miss your chance to win $150 on a $5 bet with the promo code JGM. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app, use the promo code JGM, and pick your wildcard team before kickoff. 21 and older and present Tennessee. New users only. $10 first deposit required. Must wager in a designated offer market. Max bonus $150. Bonus for Tennessee users fulfilled in site credit within 72 hours. Tennessee site credit expires 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line. 1-800-889-9789.
Tannehill in trouble, keeps it alive, throws on the run. Westbrook-Akina has it.
The Tennessee Titans are headed to the playoffs once again.
It's good to be a sports fan in this state right now.
Yeah. We'll have full coverage every day as the Two-Tone Blue look to capture the Vince Lombardi Trophy.
If there's anything we've learned about the Titans, they show up for big games.
Keep it locked right here on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Staples stores have a new world of possible with innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore more at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
Middle Tennessee, you can count on an award-winning service team for all your home maintenance and improvement needs. Lee Company, we're A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau and trusted by thousands of homeowners in our community. Our team is ready to assist with all your home maintenance projects, heating and air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, appliance service, and more. Experience the convenience of calling one phone number for all your home maintenance needs. Call Lee Company today at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
Are you suffering from chronic joint pain like Heather?
I have terrible arthritis and have had it for quite a while, and I've gone to all kinds of doctors trying to figure out what to do, and everybody just said surgery, and surgery was months of rehab, and I didn't want to do that.
But then Heather discovered QC Kinetics, local medical professionals who specialize in natural biologic treatments, non-invasive solutions designed to repair and restore damaged tissue in your joints. And she absolutely loves the results.
I like to tell anybody who's suffering that there are options that are not steroids, that are not surgery. You owe it to yourself to find out about QC Kinetics and find out what they can do for you.
No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. Discover QC Kinetics and learn more about natural biologic treatments with lasting results.
Call QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024. That's 615-249-4024. Don't wait. Call today. QC Kinetics, 615-249-4024.
Hey, it's Chase McCabe of Darren, Donick & Chase. I started my radio career as an intern right here at ESPN 102.5 The Game. Now we're looking for our next great batch of interns. You think that's you? Send your resume to together@cromwellmedia.com to apply today.
Interact with Stillman and Company. Call or text the show at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Wild Card Weekend games all weekend long. What do we think about this, by the way? As far as it's concerned, you know, last year was the first 3-3, and by the time we got to Sunday night, really Sunday afternoon, I was all footballed out. Like 6 games is a lot of games.
It was a lot of football, yeah.
And I think they realized that too. Now for me, Titans lost the noon game on Sunday to Baltimore, so I kind of watched the game after that, and I just kind of wasn't in it, and maybe that was the same with it. But the way it's going to be structured is there's going to be 3 games tomorrow. That's right, 3 games tomorrow.
Two games tomorrow, 3 games Sunday, 1 game. Yeah.
All right, so That should be exciting. Corey Curtis from News 2 joins us on the program, as always, here on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. Corey, how do you feel? I'm just going to give you a very basic opening question. How do you feel about the Titans when it applies to this wild card weekend?
Well, I mean, I think you're rooting for upsets. I mean, that's what I think you're rooting for, because if it goes chalk, then you've got to play Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, and those guys, and I think that's the team, to me, that you least want to play. So I think if you're the Titans, look, you got to go through everybody eventually, but you might as well make it as easy as possible. You're rooting for upsets. You'd love to see Pittsburgh take out Kansas City.
So I ask you this because you seem like resigned to the fact that it's going to be all chalk in the AFC.
I'm not resigned to it. I mean, listen, there's every reason to believe that that chalk should hold, but weather and turnovers, could really come into play. I mean, there's no question to me that Buffalo is better than New England, but what's the weather going to be for that game? I mean, it could be like -2, right? Yep. I mean, that comes into play. And, because the time where New England beat Buffalo was because they were playing in a 40-mile-per-hour windstorm. Otherwise, New England can't hang with those guys.
So I looked at it today and I said, okay, what % chance do I think it is that the Titans are going to go to the Super Bowl? I gave Green Bay in the NFC a 70% chance to go to the Super Bowl. I don't think Dallas is going to go to the Super Bowl. I don't think San Francisco has a chance for the Super Bowl. I certainly don't think Philadelphia has a chance for the Super Bowl. I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid on Arizona or the Rams. So I gave Green Bay 70, Tampa Bay 20, and I put the Rams at 5% and everybody else 5%. I gave the Titans a 51% chance out of the AFC. For some reason, I went Buffalo, which means more likely than not. I go Buffalo a little bit over Kansas City, 20-18. But I just feel like it's more likely than not that this team goes to the Super Bowl. What % chance would you put it for the Titans?
Well, I mean, I also, I said last week I think the Titans are going to the Super Bowl. I still like the Titans to go to the Super Bowl. What are the % chances? That's tough. I think between 50 and 60% is where I would put it. I would probably put Kansas City second with, Kansas City and Buffalo might be tied in where they are, but Buffalo's been disappointing. Even though they won their division, they're still disappointing compared to what we thought they were going to be. Kansas City, there's reasons they haven't been what Kansas City's been in the past. They have a rebuilt offensive line, and, they had to get some bodies back on defense. So, you knew it was going to take them some time. But, Buffalo just hasn't been the dominant team I would expect. So I guess, where do we go, 50 and like 20 and 20 or 20 and 25 for those teams? I have a hard time seeing anyone other than those three from the AFC going. So I guess I'll give like the Bungles like a 5 or 8% chance, and then the other one's none.
So I was with you, like, thinking about Buffalo and how it feels like they were supposed to take the jump to elite team this year. They didn't. And I'm not, the last 3 years, road teams are 10-4 in the wild card round. So to think it's going to be all chalk, I think is kind of, a little bit crazy. But Buffalo is first in scoring defense in the NFL, third in scoring offense, and their last loss was December 12th in overtime at Tampa Bay. Whereas we saw Kansas City on Saturday against Denver. Were you impressed by Kansas City? Because I wasn't. I am not as big of a believer on Kansas City as I feel like the national pundits are.
Well, again, they haven't looked like Kansas City, right? I know. Who did they have? Didn't they have 52 on somebody a while back? Was that the Raiders or somebody? But, largely they haven't been that explosive Chiefs team that we've become accustomed to seeing. We're used to seeing Mahomes throw for 450 and 4 touchdowns, right? We're not seeing that, this year. When we talk about MVPs and quarterbacks, ESPN had that ranking. What did they have? They had Mahomes 1 and Brady 2 and Rodgers 3, which I think is kind of crazy because I think Rodgers is 1. But Brady, has the most yards this year at 5,300 and 42 touchdowns. And it's hard to believe Mahomes isn't there on top, but he's not. He hasn't been as good this year. We saw him earlier this year, and what we know is this: he is just like every other quarterback. That if you hit him, that if you get in his face, suddenly he's not as good. I mean, the Titans pounded him. and held them to 3 points because that offensive line, they had to cut 4 offensive linemen to get under the cap. I mean, there are ramifications to paying skill players massive amounts of money. I mean, you saw the Titans part ways with Jonnu and Corey Davis because they didn't want to pay them $25 million combined, because if you do that, more guys got to go. Somebody else has got to go. Malcolm Butler and Adoree Jackson had to go to bring in Bud Dupree. Now, that turned out to be a good investment, right? But so, if you keep some guys and you have to make those tough decisions, when your infrastructure takes a hit, and we know this game, regardless of how sexy things on the outside are, it's won in the trenches. And the Chiefs have been rebuilding their trenches, and that's why it hasn't always looked pretty.
Corey Curtis, News 2 is our guest. What do you make of the Stephanie Bell, ESPN injury analyst, was on our show yesterday. She pretty much gave Derrick Henry a clean bill of health, says she expects Derrick Henry to be back to being Derrick Henry. And, in fact, at ESPN.com, she picked the Titans to go to the Super Bowl because she thinks Derrick Henry will be the Derrick Henry he was before the injury. How optimistic does somebody who at least has half of a clue as far as what all the Jones fracture and recovery and everything else means, how much optimism does that give you for the Titans?
Well, we've talked with some doctors about this stuff as well, and I'm not that concerned about the injury. What I am concerned with is he hasn't played football in like 3 months.
Yep.
That's what I'm concerned with. And I don't think Derrick Henry forgot how to play football by any means, but I am glad he's getting to practice for 3 weeks. I mean, because he looks like he's going, from what we've seen, he's going after it pretty hard out there. And I think he's lost about 10 pounds, to take some of the pressure off of his feet. But can he, because you're talking basically about starting all over. And can he just pick up week 1? You know what I would love to do? Go back and look at his week 1 numbers. Has he ever had a huge week 1 game? I don't know. I mean, I would still expect Deontay Foreman to get some carries in this game. How many, I don't know. But, I mean, the thing that Derrick brings you is the home run. We've talked about this over and over again, how he's viewed as just this, Earl Campbell bruising power back, and that's not it. That's part of his game. But what makes him special is the ability to take 20 and make it 80. And that's what's made him truly spectacular for this Titans offense, is he can provide the big plays on top of wearing people down. I think he'll play well. I think whoever they play in their first game, I don't think he necessarily has to play great for the Titans to win that game. Now, to win the Super Bowl, which would be game 3 for them, he's going to have to play great, all right? He's going to have to be up to speed by that game if they get that far.
Corey Curtis, News 2 is our guest. What do you make of David Culley's firing with the Texans? It does look like that they are going the Titan route, which is fire the non-Patriot guy and bring in the Patriot guy. It looks like Brian Flores and Gerard Mayo could be on the wish list for Nick Caserio in Houston. What do you make of that situation?
Well, look, I mean, it's obvious they had no intentions of making this guy their coach beyond a year, and so I say good for him. For how much money is he getting? Like, $20, $30, $40 million or something for the 1 year he did.
He gave $40 million for 1 year of coaching? Yeah,
and so and he doesn't have to put up with what is maybe the worst ownership group in the National Football League right now. I mean, McNair went to Tommy Smith and said, "Hold my beer." And he said, "I'm going to show you how this is really done. We're going to show you how to really destroy a franchise and just tear it apart." And I mean, to me, Culley, in a way, is lucky that he's not going to have to go through that mess that's down there, because until McNair sells or gets pushed out by somebody, I don't know how that's possible because it's family owned. But we saw it here. I don't know, because he and Easterby are in lockstep, and that it's terrible. And so I feel bad for David Culley, but I will say this: he has the respect of virtually everyone who thinks he did a really good job with a team that everyone expected to go 0-17. So I think he gets high marks for that. He gets high marks for getting paid, and he gets high marks for not having to go through it. But still disappointing for him to do a good job and get fired, and it doesn't speak well of the National Football League. Now, again, New England guys, like to stick with New England guys, and I will say this. It's the same thing I said about John Robinson when he hired Mike Vrabel. I may not agree with the firing the guy that they fired, because I thought he did a good job, But what I think is this: if you think that the guy you're going to get is the guy to lead you to the Super Bowl, then that's the decision you have to make. And so if Caserio thinks Flores or Mayo is a Super Bowl coach and they're the right guy, then that's his job, and that's what it is to do. And he can't listen to knuckleheads like me.
What do you think about the mess in Indianapolis?
Oh my gosh! I mean, there is no way that Carson Wentz can come back next year. None. Zero. When the GM comes off the top rope on you like that, there is no way. Remember a couple of years ago when the Jags went to the AFC Championship game and they still gave Blake Bortles the deal of, we want you to come back, but here's a deal that says we can get rid of you.
Yes,
and
the bridge contract.
Yeah, and what happened? He was benched by midseason.
Yep.
He was benched by midseason. So there is no belief in Carson Wentz in that organization. And now the GM has said that, all the players on that roster know it. They know this team does not believe in this quarterback. So, and Chris Ballard has to know that, right? I mean, he's a smart guy. He has to know that. And so there's no way Carson Wentz is their quarterback next year. I'm guessing they're in the Jimmy G sweepstakes. We'll see. But there's no way Wentz is back. I mean, he just went totally Randy Macho Man Savage, top rope. The only thing he could have done was worse, was hit him over the back with a steel chair in the locker room.
You know what? I have a theory on this, which is, like, if I owned the Colts, and I've always told people, like, if I owned a team, you know, I would try to stay out of the way. You know, like, I would hire a general manager, and I would tell that general manager, like, look, you're the general manager. You're the one person I talk to. I'm not going to bother the coach. I'm not going to bother the players. You're the one person that after we lose a game, just know it's not going to be a fun 30-minute discussion on the phone, but you're the one guy. And until I tell you you're not the guy, you're the guy. But if I own the Colts, I would have a hard time with Reich and Ballard right now looking at them saying, you guys sold me on this guy. I just shelled out all this money. We gave up a first-round pick, and you guys were convinced that he was the guy. And not only that, they gaslit everybody about what they gave up to get him. Remember?
Yeah.
It was a third-round pick and a conditional second, which made it sound like it was maybe also a second if Wentz was good. But in reality, it was a second if Wentz was bad, and it was a first if Wentz was good. And so they gave up a first and a third, and they shelled out all this money, and now you're kind of stuck with him. And I found it odd. Reich went to the podium after the game on Sunday and said he's our quarterback. Then there was a closed-door meeting between Irsay, Ballard, and Reich. On Monday, Reich refused to get up there and back Wentz. On Thursday, Ballard refused to get up there and back Wentz. I wonder if Irsay looked at those guys and said, I want this guy out of here. You know, because Wentz causes problems. And I wonder if that, you know, that discussion led to, hey, we may not get rid of him, but let's explore our options. Because that's clearly what Indianapolis is going to do.
What have we seen from Carson Wentz over and over again, whether it be in Philly or it be in Indianapolis? He is soft. He's soft. There's no way around it. He is soft. He caves when things are not great. That's just the way it is. Sure, I'm sure somebody can go back to me and show me, you know, this game or that game. More likely than not, he caves. With Nick Foles, couldn't handle having him around. They draft Jalen Wentz. Oh, my gosh, it hurts my feelings. And now he's gone. Now he's here in Indianapolis. And he's got to beat the worst team in the National Football League, who just gave up 50 points to Mac Jones and the Patriots. A rookie quarterback marching out the Kendrick Bournes of the world. They hung 50 on him, and all they could muster was 11 with the playoffs on the line. And to me, the offensive line, this is really damning, Jared. When you see the offensive line get manhandled the way theirs did by Jacksonville's defensive front, that doesn't show a lot of fight and belief in the quarterback to me and his ability to lead this team. There's no way they can bring him back, and especially now because I'm sure his feelings are hurt and he's been crying in his hot chocolate for the last 3 days.
Well, and also I saw Chris Ballard said that, you know, he's talking about the throw that Wentz made against Arizona, and he was like, there's only a couple of quarterbacks in the league that can make that throw. I'm like, no, that was a great throw against Arizona, but all the quarterbacks can make that throw. The question is,
you expect your starting quarterback to make that throw.
It's like every quarterback can make that throw. Tannehill can make that throw. He might make it, he might not. The difference is with the season on the line, Tannehill spins out of a sack, turns around, throws the ball to Nick Westbrook-Akina, who picks up a first down. Carson Wentz, in a similar situation, throws the ball right to the other team. Fireball Hot Take Friday. What's your hot take this week?
It is the Colts, and it's the National Love Fest with the Colts. Everybody had, Jonathan Taylor as the MVP, and they had 7 Pro Bowlers and, this, that, and the other thing. And I feel like we still can't let it go. I was reading MMQB yesterday, and they gave out their postseason awards, and Mike Vrabel did win their Coach of the Year award, which I was glad to see. But somebody, one of their writers, this is MMQB, this is Peter King's group. One of their writers gave a third-place vote to Frank Reich for NFL Coach of the Year.
God.
You had 7 Pro Bowlers. 7. And not only did you miss the playoffs, you choked at home against the Raiders, and then you went and laid an absolute egg in Jacksonville, what was the worst team in the league. Not even close. How on earth can anyone consider any kind of, you can love Frank Reich. You can think he's a good guy, and, I think he's a great coach. But at some point, results have to matter, don't they? They have to make a difference. When your team chokes, when your team massively underachieves, you don't get votes for Coach of the Year. And I have no idea which one gave him a third-place vote, but I just hope right now they're looking at that ballot going, man, that was stupid.
Corey Curtis, News 2, as always, joining us on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. Corey, appreciate you.
All right, thank you, guys. Hey, I want to remind everybody, first Monday night playoff game ever on News 2.
There you go. News 2 will have the game, and they should have Corey call it, but they probably won't.
And no, they definitely won't, because that's the ABC, ESPN decision. Yeah.
Corey Curtis, as always. Appreciate you, Corey.
All right, later.
So I want to pick up what Corey said about the Colts. And I will say it with this, because I've been kind of hard on Tannehill, right?
Yes.
Coming up next, I'm going to defend Ryan Tannehill. And I think there's a very easy way to do it. And this is rooted in reality. I want to get to that next. But first, Caroline wants to tell you about Caesars Sportsbook.
All right, people, it is time for the Caroline Fenton Caesars Sportsbook report. First of all, download the Caesars Sportsbook app, and they will match your first bet with a free bet up to $1,001. Win or lose, just use promo code RADIORF. So some notable future shifts in the NFL in terms of Super Bowl favorites. The Titans shift from plus 1,200 to plus 850, and the Patriots, their Super Bowl odds were plus 1,800, now plus 2,000. So the sports books shifting in favor of the Titans and away from the Patriots. If you want to get your bets in for the Titans to win the Super Bowl, then do it now while the odds are pretty great, and do it with the Caesars Sportsbook app. Caesars Sportsbook app, download it, people, and use promo code RADIORF, and they will match your first bet with a free bet up to $1,001. Must be 21. Offer valid in Tennessee only. New users and first qualifying wager only. Paid in bet credit. Credit must be used within 7 days of receipt. See Caesars.com/promos for full terms. Void where prohibited. Gambling problem? Call or text the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
This is Tanner Janot, and this is Smashville.
And now down the right wing side, Tanner Janot. His shot, he scored! Tanner Janot with the shot!
This is the flagship of the Nashville Predators Radio Network. ESPN 1025, The Game.
My crusade for the perfect pizza crust has led me here, pining over a backyard wood-fired oven. But how do I bake this build into my budget? Where can I get some solid guidance on my finances? Who can help me understand if I have the dough for this?
A little financial advice. At Regions, we know that's important because your Life Green checking account comes with Greenprint, financial planning with a banker who will help you create a personal budget and live in the moment. Make your appointment at Regions.com/Greenprint. Regions Bank, member FDIC.
Get some relief from the wintry mix outside with the hottest deals at Electronic Express. Deals are heating up on all 4K TVs, computers and gaming, smart home, housewares, and more. Avoid the roads with in-stock and ready-to-deliver appliances. Up to 40% off brands like LG, Whirlpool, GE, Samsung, and more. Plus, get up to 36 months free financing. The prices are falling faster than the snow at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
312 Pizza Company is family-owned and operated, bringing you a slice of Chicago to Nashville. 312 Pizza Company specializes in deep dish pizza, thin crust pizza, and all things Chicago style. Always made from scratch using secret family recipes passed down generation to generation. 312 Pizza is open every day except for Tuesdays and is located in Germantown with dine-in, takeout, and curbside available. Call 615-730-7888 to order 312 Pizza Company, Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria.
Cromwell Media, the owner of this radio station, is a local business built upon service to our community, to our listeners, and to our customers. We try to reflect that in everything we do. When someone joins our team, they too embrace that philosophy. And this month, we're saluting Christy Maffett in our sales department, along with Dagwood and Haley St. John, who are on the air at 102.9 The Buzz. Dagwood is celebrating 23 years with us, Christy 22 years, and Haley has been a teammate for 9 years. Thank you all for your service to our company and for making Cromwell Media such a great place to work.
Saturday.
Bounce pass underneath, finds Josh Jefferson fouled as he lays it in.
MTSU continues their homestand as they take on FIU at the Murphy Center. Coverage begins at 4:30
on ESPN
94.9 and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, this is Laura Rutledge from the SEC Network, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
After Phillip retired and we made the decision to make a move on Carson, at the time of the decision, we felt good about it. And I still don't regret the decision at the time. I'm not going to, just sitting here today, just so y'all know, I won't make a comment on who's going to be here. Some good things, and there's a lot of things that he needs to do better.
There you go. That was Chris Ballard, the general manager of the Colts. By the way, I can hear Floyd Reese chuckle from heaven Hot Take Friday when I hear him say, you know, looking back on it, I don't regret the move now. And I can hear that chuckle from heaven all the way down. You don't have a first-round pick, and you just lost to the worst team in the NFL with everything on the line. And you don't regret it? Like, what are we talking about? No, either these moves are binary. Either you are glad you did it or you're not glad you did it. The Titans fired Mike Mularkey. They hired Mike Vrabel. They like the move right now because Vrabel's winning. It's binary. Either you like it or you don't. You don't like the Carson Wentz move that you made. You got suckered into it by Frank Reich. I understand. But here's something that's interesting. I'm going to defend Ryan Tannehill. Carson Wentz, you can tell, they want to dump on him. They want to get rid of him. The real problem is they might not be able to. Indy's got money. They don't have picks. And people don't just give away franchise quarterbacks. The Rams realized Jared Goff wasn't a franchise quarterback. In order to get Matthew Stafford, it took them 3 number 1 picks. And Goff. In order for the Niners to move up to draft Jimmy's replacement, 3 number 1 picks. The Colts don't have that. So what it would take to get a franchise quarterback, you don't have. Even if Green Bay decides to get rid of Aaron Rodgers, what are you going to offer them? You can't give them, they're not going to take Carson Wentz. You can't give them your first-round pick. You don't have a first-round pick. So you're going to give them your second-round pick? So then you have no picks. That doesn't make any sense. And even then, Green Bay is going to want a lot more than that. So there's really no way to get rid of Wentz unless you just think a guy like Case Keenum or Teddy Bridgewater would be better, and that's the position Indianapolis is in. That's why they're not going to commit to dumping him right now. They want to see what's out there. But if you look at the stats, Ryan Tannehill and Carson Wentz were incredibly similar this past season. Carson Wentz, 62%, Ryan Tannehill, 67%. Touchdowns, Wentz 27, Tannehill 21. Interceptions, Tannehill 14, Wentz 7. So a lot of people would say just by that alone, Tannehill had less touchdowns and double the amount of interceptions. Now, Tannehill also had 7 rushing touchdowns. Wentz had 1. So they technically had the same amount of touchdowns together when you add the rushing touchdowns. But again, he had double the interceptions of Carson Wentz. Yards per attempt, Tannehill, which is a big Vegas stat. Tannehill, 7. Wentz, 6.9. They were very similar. Even running the football. Tannehill, 55 for 270. Wentz, 57 for 215. Incredibly similar seasons, right?
Yeah.
If anything, the one glaring stat that stands out here is Tannehill had 14 interceptions to Wentz's 7.
Which you would think would be a tally in Wentz's corner.
It is. Tannehill was sacked 47 times. Wentz, who has a great offensive line, sacked 32 times. The situations were not the same. Wentz had his running back for the whole season. Tannehill had his running back for the half season. Here's where I'm going to defend Tannehill. It's not about what you see in the stats. That's not the important thing. That's not why the Tennessee Titans still believe in Ryan Tannehill. That's not why the Titans think that they're 12-5. Indianapolis thinks they're 9-8 today because of Carson Wentz. I tend to agree with them, though I think they need to analyze that coach a little bit more. But they've got a solid defense. They've got a great running back, an awesome offensive line, some wide receivers and tight ends you can work with. But they think they're 9-8 because of Carson Wentz. The Titans think they're 12-5 because of Ryan Tannehill. And yet the stats are incredibly similar, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is where the analytics and the stats don't come into play. Remember when it came to vaccination status? Regardless of what you think of the vaccine, the reality is the rules were different for vaccinated players than for non-vaccinated players. And that a non-vaccinated player could hurt your team more. Ryan Tannehill reported to training camp and got vaccinated. He didn't want to, but he did it. He got up in front of the press, said, I didn't want to do it, but I'm doing it for my team. What about Carson Wentz? He get vaccinated for the team?
Nope.
No. Quarterback's a leader. The Indianapolis Colts, by the way, had the lowest vaccination rate in the NFL. Titans had one of the higher vaccination rates in the NFL. Quarterback's a leader. The last month of the season, the Colts got COVID. And here's something that people that are against the vaccine don't want to admit, but the people who are vaccinated usually recover faster than the people who aren't. And Indianapolis wasn't the same after COVID hit them the last month of the year. They weren't the same against the Raiders. They weren't the same against the Jags. And neither was Carson Wentz. When Ryan Tannehill comes under criticism, everybody in the Titans organization stands up for him. A.J. Brown with an Instagram post yesterday calling him his big brother. Everybody stands up for Ryan Tannehill. Indianapolis, you heard the general manager, he's not committing to him for next year. Neither is the coach. The stats are incredibly similar between the two. But again, this is where the stats don't bear out the full picture. Mike Vrabel was asked after the 49ers game on the Thursday night when Tannehill was really struggling until that second half. And he was asked about Tannehill's stats, and listen to what Vrabel said about Tannehill.
Yeah, but we also, protected. He also wasn't getting hit every other play, like maybe sometimes before. So, we're all responsible to try to take care of the guy with the football, and we did that. It wasn't perfect, but when given some time, you could see that Ryan was able to deliver the football. We executed, we got him to jump off sides. We executed that play first time since I've been here. And I think that that's really cool to see. And I think that was a huge play in the football game as well.
Later that week, he was asked by TD, his stats aren't matching up. What do you make of that, Tannehill? Vrabel said, he's tough. I respect his toughness. Over and over and over again. People will argue until the end of time. We're not going to solve this right now about whether or not wins are a quarterback stat. Some people believe it. Some people don't. I don't think it's an accident. The greatest leader over the last 20 years in the NFL also happens to have the most amount of Super Bowls in the history of the sport and has done it with 2 teams. But again, people will tell you wins are not a quarterback stat. Well, I just told you what Ryan Tannehill's stats were. I told you what Carson Wentz stats were. One guy had his wide receivers, had his running back, had everything for the entire season, and finished 9-8. The other guy had his worst season in years and finished 12-5. By the way, do you ever hear Tannehill complain about any of this? You know he heard it. You hear Tannehill complain about it at all? No, you didn't. You also didn't hear Tannehill complain when the Miami Dolphins decided to move on. You didn't hear Tannehill complain when he took a $10 million pay cut and agreed to a trade to be the backup for Marcus Mariota. You didn't hear Tannehill complain when the Titans let his tight end and wide receiver go and didn't replace them in the offseason. What about in Philadelphia? Oh, Nick Foles stepped in for an injured Wentz, and then you heard Wentz complain. Then Jalen Hurts was drafted in the second round, and you heard Wentz complain. And then he was benched because he wasn't playing very well, and then you heard Wentz complain. So much so that he demanded a trade. He got sent to Indianapolis, and then you heard Wentz complain. That's what it is. That's the difference. We can look at the stats. Touchdown to interception ratio. And I'm not saying Tannehill's Aaron Rodgers. And you know me, you make $30 million, I expect more out of you. But that's why one team believes in their quarterback, and one team is the number one seed in the playoffs, and the other team is stuck in quarterback purgatory with no idea where to go. Because one guy's tough, and the other one is soft. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll get to your thoughts on that. 615-737-1025. But I found it incredibly odd. I was just like, I'm going to look it up. I'm going to look up the stats between Wentz and Tannehill, because I wondered, during the year, everyone kept saying, look at the stats, Jared, look at the stats. Wentz is better than Tannehill. I'm like, all right. So I decided, I'm going to look at the stats. I'm like, wow, these are really, really similar. When you factor in rushing touchdowns, same amount of touchdowns. Tannehill sacked 15 more times because he's tougher. And I'm sure Wentz is going to cry all offseason, too, about the way he's been treated. The difference is, unlike Philadelphia, who was like, we got to bend over backwards for him, we got to accommodate him, we got to this, we got to that. Indianapolis doesn't have to do that. They made an organizational decision before Frank Reich took the podium Monday. They made a decision that was like, if Carson Wentz comes out this offseason and gets bad and says, I'm going to hold out, I'm not going to play anymore for the Colts, they're going to say, fine, we'll suspend you. They're just going to be done with it. 615-737-1025. We'll get back to your phones because it is Fireball Hot Take Friday. It is your day. 615-737-1025 here on Stillman and Company. We are delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Moving, my official movers. I absolutely love TriStar. That's right. I moved with TriStar over a year ago, and it was fantastic. I absolutely love the entire process. That's why it's TriStar Moving with 5-star service. From the initial phone call to the final signature, moving was a breeze. They offer home protection covering your floors, banisters, railings, door jambs, and even the doors themselves. That's right. They up the game when it comes to mover training, and they've got a brand new state-of-the-art storage facility in Mount Juliet. Give them a call today, 615-640-1219, or visit their website, nashvillemoving.org/radio, where they'll give you 5% off your entire move. That's TriStar Moving, 615-640-1219, nashvillemoving.org/radio. Tell them Jared Stillman sent you for 5% off your entire move. TriStar Moving, my official movers.
From Fox 17 News, this is a Code Red Weather Alert.
I'm Fox 17 meteorologist Greg Bobis. Today, not much to worry about. Temperatures in the mid to upper 40s, partly cloudy. Rain settles in for a good portion of your Saturday, and then a rain-snow mix, transitioning to only snow on Sunday.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Staples stores have a new world of possible with innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore more at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
When Nashville is in need for tire sales or service for their business, the Tire Man has been there for over 20 years to help. The Tire Man repairs new and used tires for construction equipment, dump trucks, 18-wheelers, box trucks, fleets, plus they sell new tires for vehicles of all sizes. When your company needs tires, call the Tire Man, 615-663-6040, where they come to you, fully licensed and insured, and they can't wait to work with you. That's the Tire Man at 615-663-6040.
Hey guys, it's the new year. Are you still struggling with erectile dysfunction? I've yet to meet anyone that enjoys timing those intimate moments around a pill. Well, now you don't have to. The advanced wave technology at Hillside Medical has been shown by Cambridge University and the Cleveland Clinic to restore and even regrow blood vessels. It can improve circulation and eliminate erectile dysfunction. No pills and no side effects. If you're ready to put a stop to your ED, call us in the next 2 minutes and you'll receive a consultation, assessment, and blood flow ultrasound free. Plus, a special gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. You're going to love that. Trust me. This is a $600 value, free to callers now. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Guys, get rid of your ED and get that spark back. Call Hillside Medical now to qualify. 615-576-5000.
Darren McFarland.
And a mulligan that we all look for in golf. Lord knows our game could use it.
Willie Donick.
Outworked and outperformed a lot of other really good players.
Chase McCabe.
I want some sort of trade protection.
Darren, Donick, and Chase have you covered weekdays from 10 to 2. Presented by Curation CBD on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is on. Delivered by TriStar Moving.
It's so funny how, like, things change and in sports. And, like, the Texans, this is going to sound nuts. The Texans used to be a decently run organization.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they used to have an owner in Bob McNair who was a very well-respected NFL owner. They had a general manager, Rick Smith, who was respected enough as a general manager in the NFL, and Gary Kubiak as a coach, won a Super Bowl with the Broncos. Like, you know, like they had guys that kind of knew what they were doing. Then all of a sudden, Dad dies. They bring in the son, and the son falls in love with the team chaplain from the Patriots. What? Sells out to let Bill O'Brien run the team. He almost has a mutiny, fires him, and the one good thing the Texans have going for them, Deshaun Watson at the time, was like, whatever you do, I don't want any more Patriots. They go hire Nick Caserio from the Patriots. Like, they can't get out of their own way. They won't get rid of the team chaplain. The guy that everybody around the league is like, oh, God, get rid of this guy. They won't do it. Indianapolis has always had a kooky owner. Always had a bad owner. But he lucked out of it because he had Peyton Manning. He had Bill Polian. And then they went out and got Tony Dungy, and Tony wanted to come there because they had Peyton. Then he gets Andrew Luck. Wins a lot of games with Andrew Luck. Well, now it's coming to roost because they got, you know, a crazy coach who I think is maybe the most overrated coach in the NFL, Frank Reich. They got a quarterback that they don't want and they're stuck with. They got a general manager who everybody praises all the time, and yet 5 years of trying to find a quarterback hasn't been able to do it. And then you got Jacksonville. And it's crazy because if you had to buy stock in an AFC South team over the next 5 years, for me, it would be Jacksonville. Titans are capped out, you know, unless you think the Titans are going to get better than they are now. Titans are pretty much capped out. Indy's a mess, no answer at quarterback. They are in love with the coach, who I don't think is very good. And then more so, you know, the Texans, the owner, the chaplain, you know, whatever.
And quarterback situation is up in the air.
Right, at least there's a chance that Trevor becomes great in Jacksonville.
Yes.
And
I put my money on Trevor Lawrence over Davis Mills.
And not only that, well, but see, even if Davis Mills is good, and I'll just say from watching the two, I think Davis Mills right now throws a better ball than Trevor Lawrence. Now, if they were to redraft it, Trevor would still go number one.
Yes.
But Davis Mills look good. But it doesn't matter. Because even if you have a good quarterback but horrible ownership, it's not going to make a difference. And that's where the Texans are. But the thing that's crazy about Indianapolis is nobody will admit that Reich's in over his head. That the selling out to get Carson Wentz, telling everybody, you know, Ballard and Irsay, and if I owned the Colts, I would fire Frank Reich if it went down the way we think it went down, which is that Reich was the one who sold everybody on Wentz. I would fire Reich because I've seen enough from his inability to get the team to play, poor decisions in the playoffs, lack of ability to grow his team, and the fact that the biggest single commitment that I made was investing in a quarterback who you now know you can't win with in the NFL. But this offseason, nobody's going to come after Reich in the national media. And you're going to see the great Carson Wentz debate. And it's because his guy, Dan Orlovsky, has his back.
Do you think that Carson Wentz is the quarterback of the Colts' future?
Yeah, absolutely. Carson Wentz proved to be a top 15 quarterback again this year. He played good football. They needed him to be great that last two games, and he wasn't great in those situations. But the Colts, he threw for 27 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. It's the 4th time he's had that type of season in 5 years in the NFL. So if the Colts want to go try and chase down a great quarterback or a guy they believe is great, absolutely they could go do that. But if they're content on having a guy that's good and consistently year after year going to be a good player, Carson Wentz is their future.
Carson Wentz is not a top 15 quarterback in the NFL. Don't let anybody try to convince you of that. In fact, isn't Indy the example of the team that doesn't need a great quarterback? Wasn't that all we talked about this year was don't put it in the hands of the quarterback? Great running back, good defense supposedly, and now you're saying he's good enough. They just are wanting him to be great, and he's not great, and Aren't the Titans the example of the team that can win without the great quarterback? This is ridiculous, but it'll be this way all year. 615-737-1025. I can't wait. I hope Indianapolis keeps Wentz. I'm worried they won't. What do we have in the text line? Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Jason from Mount Juliet texts in and says, I also think it's important to look at when Ryan Tannehill's interceptions occurred. I can't remember any by Ryan Tannehill at the end of a game to seal their loss.
That's interesting now that I think about it. Tannehill had a lot of bad interceptions this year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that against the Texans when they were trying to come back and they were down around the goal line and he threw the interception that the local media wanted to blame on Des Fitzpatrick, that felt to me like kind of a game ender. I don't blame Tannehill for the interception against the Patriots that essentially ended the game because that was 4th and 1 from the goal line, so the ball's got to come out. I remember when I was at the scrimmages in Tampa Bay, and Logan Woodside in this one drill they did threw like 4 interceptions. And Logan hadn't thrown any interceptions all of camp, it felt like. And I asked Vrabel after practice, I was like, what do you make of Logan throwing all those interceptions? And Vrabel said, well, that's the end of the game. That's 4th down into the game, so the ball has to come out no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. So the interception that essentially sealed the game against New England, that was not really – like he's talking about Tannehill dropping back on a 2-minute drive, throwing an interception that cost you the game. First of all, I don't think interceptions work like that. I mean, I think sometimes you throw an interception in the second quarter, put you down 21-0. That's the same as the other ones. I can't think of an interception in the Jets game that cost them that game. The Steelers were fumbles, not interceptions, but the fumbles were bad, and they were Tannehill's fault, the second one. Oh, yeah, the interception he threw in the Pittsburgh game. When he threw the ball and it got bad in the air and was intercepted. I mean, that was terrible. Yeah, I mean, Tannehill wasn't great this year under pressure. And I'm not defending Tannehill to sit there and say, Tannehill is the man. I'm just like, his stats are the same as Carson Wentz's, which are the ones that Dan Orlovsky's trying to use on TV to be like, hey, see, look at Wentz.
With drastically different outcomes.
Right. There's a reason why one quarterback's 9-8 and one quarterback's 12-5. And I never, you can back me up on this, I never said Wentz was better than Tannehill.
No.
And I've never believed that. And I think it's because Wentz is soft. I think he is a loser. And that's why I am so hoping Indianapolis keeps him. Chad Withrow, Outkick 360, will join us next an hour early because the NFL playoff preview show is coming up at 5 o'clock tonight with Chris Sanders and TD. What's Chad think about the Titans' playoff chances? We'll get into that with him next. Stillman and Company right here. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Your speaker at home is so smart that even Alexa knows where to find Nashville's best sports talk.
102.5 The Game is Nashville's best sports talk.
Ask Alexa to enable 102.5 The Game. Once enabled, ask Alexa to play 102.5 The Game.
Welcome to 102.5 The Game.
We are Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Victory Award-winning New Amsterdam Vodka knows all about it, but in life, it's not always so clear. So New Amsterdam Vodka believes that in life, you've got to find your own wins. You've got to overcome your fears, go all in, even when you've got nothing at all. Find your wins. And when you do, raise that glass of New Amsterdam Vodka in victory. You've earned it. New Amsterdam Spirits Company, Modesto, California.
The Eagles Hotel California Tour.
Welcome to the Hotel California.
Live in concert with a full orchestra. Performing their iconic album Hotel California, beginning to end, plus a greatest hits set. The Eagles, Bridgestone Arena, April 28th. Get tickets now at livenation.com.
One of the smartest things you can do for the new year is convert some of your home's equity into cash. You can do it right now with a zero-cost cash-out refi from Loan Pronto. Willie here. Call Loan Pronto now. They can fast-track your home refi and get you a check for 50, 60, 70 grand or more. And if you call now, Loan Pronto can even pay your closing costs. Listen, your home value is way up. Use it to your advantage. Get cash out now. Pay off those credit card debts. Consolidate other debts. Start that home improvement project and get your finances in great shape for 2022. Loan Pronto's refis usually close in just 2 weeks, and the process is easy. It's all digital. Call Loan Pronto now. Put that equity in your home to work towards financial freedom for the new year. Do it now, and you can even skip your next 2 house payments. Call 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval. Not all loans apply.
The Game Nashville is a proud sponsor of the 16th Annual Father and Son Bowl, February the 12th. This flag football event is a fun day of football for fathers and sons ages 5 and older. You don't have to be athletic or in shape. It's all about having big fun. There's a skill zone, tailgate zone, door prizes, and more. And a portion of the proceeds benefit fatherless children. This event sells out every year, so register now at fathersonbowl.com. That's fathersonbowl.com.
When a nasty cold keeps you up all night, Vicks NyQuil Severe gives you powerful relief from your worst cold and flu symptoms, which changes a night like this into a night like this. That's better. NyQuil Severe, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, sore throat, stuffy head, aching, fever, best sleep with a cold medicine. Use as directed.
Find it in the cold and flu aisle at a Walmart near you.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers.
ESPN
101.
Stillman & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 1025. The game streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, Facebook Live, and YouTube. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry. Fireball Hot Take Friday live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. And, of course, even though it's a little bit earlier than normal, it is a Friday, which means Chad Withrow joins us, Outkick 360 on the program. So, Chad, we were talking today about the AFC playoffs and what it means for the Titans, because it hasn't been since 2008, the Titan fans can watch Wild Card Weekend and say, okay, I want this team to win, or I want that team to win because I'd rather play that quarterback, or I'd rather get this team. And so I, as somebody who usually wants people to have a take and stand by it, and it's Fireball Hot Take Friday, I have decided that I think everybody's opinions can change based upon what they see this week, who they want to play, who they think would be the best matchup. And I use Cincinnati as an example. I think Cincinnati's got an explosive offense. But if I watch them for a full game against the Raiders and I don't think they can stop anybody, and I don't think they could stop Derrick Henry if that's the case, then maybe I'll say I'd rather the Titans play the Bengals this week. I think Buffalo, if they go out and dominate New England, I might root for Kansas City next week to beat them. I think this week you are allowed to kind of change your opinions because it's only one game. How do you feel about the AFC playoffs and how uncertain it feels like things are going to be this weekend?
Well, I think your opinion changed, right, Jared? You switched on the Patriots because of their performance against the Dolphins and maybe not as fearful of the Patriots in the matchup with the Titans. I agree with you. I think obviously injuries would be a big thing in terms of what you see this weekend with who you want to pit against the Titans and what the best matchup would be. Right now, I'm going into it thinking Cincinnati is the team I least want to see in that game. And it's the offense. It's a really good quarterback in Joe Burrow. It's Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. It's Joe Mixon. And it's also the fact that they're third in the league against the run. And the Titans want to run the football, whether that be with Derrick Henry or Deontay Foreman. So if I had to pick right now, I would say the Bengals are the team that I least want the Titans to play from a matchup perspective. But that could change based on what we see this weekend, injuries that may take place. But right now, it's Cincinnati.
What do you make of kind of the way the AFC playoffs are? New England's got the best coach, or at least we think that New England's got the best coach. Buffalo might have the best all-around team, a high-end defense ranking, high-end offensive ranking. Kansas City obviously has Patrick Mahomes, but you wouldn't have to worry about Kansas City or Buffalo if you're the Titans. And Pittsburgh, upsets happen in the NFL playoffs. It doesn't seem very likely. The Raiders are red hot. What do you make of the AFC field?
To me, it's Kansas City's conference. I mean, I'm big on, it's not what we think or what you think or what anyone thinks will happen in a matchup. It's what has been done before. And Kansas City's the two-time defending champion. They were terrible at one point this year. We saw a bad Kansas City team here in Nashville against the Titans. And since then, they figured things out. They've been better on defense. Mahomes has been better. I mean, if I'm handicapping this thing going into the playoffs, I'm saying Kansas City's the clear favorite going into this tournament, and prove me wrong. Until otherwise, they're the team to beat. The Bills roster looks scary. Bills in the playoffs don't scare me right now. Titans have the best route to get to the Super Bowl. If Derrick Henry is in fact close to 100% and playing in this game, they've got a great shot at getting to the Super Bowl. But if you ask me to pick right now, this is Kansas City's conference until proven otherwise, and they've earned that designation by winning the AFC the last 2 years.
Okay, then I'll ask you this. Who should be the favorite based upon what you just said? Who should be the favorite in the NFC?
It's Green Bay.
Over Tampa Bay.
Yeah, look, I think I'll say this. I think that Green Bay as a home field advantage and having the number one seed means a lot. And yes, I'm going against what I said on Kansas City on this, but Tampa Bay, they did it once last year. They haven't done it 2 times in a row, and that game was lost by Matt LaFleur and not Aaron Rodgers and not Lambeau Field. So I view that championship game a little bit differently. I would say Green Bay's the favorite, but I'll also say this. I think, there are some people maybe sleeping on Tampa Bay because of the injuries at receiver. But yeah, I mean, it's a coin toss between those two, but I give a slight favorite to Green Bay.
Chad Withrow is our guest. Outkick 360 presented by Apple Collision Centers, online at applecollisioncenters.com. So I started the show off today. I think 51% chance the Titans are making the Super Bowl. 51% chance in my heart. So it's not like I'm using any data I'm just saying I think it is more likely than not that the Titans are going to make the Super Bowl. Now, you've said that it's Kansas City's conference. So what percent chance would you put it at for the Titans to make the Super Bowl?
I don't know about a percentage chance. It's funny that you bring that up. Jonathan Hutton, my co-host on Outkick 360, was saying that this first game for the Titans is the most important, given their history in the divisional round. But that once you get in that playoff setting, especially when we talk about rest versus rust, and you have the week off, it's great to get that week off. You absolutely want it. But sometimes there is a rust factor when teams are playing for their lives the week before, and you're getting one of those teams that already survived a win and continue playing scenario, and you're the one hosting a team coming in. We've seen it before with the Titans. I agree with them that this first game is the biggest for the Titans for getting to the Super Bowl. It's almost a little bit more nerve-wracking in that first one than them hosting an AFC championship game. I mean, look, because of what I said about Kansas City and the fact I still think they're the favorite, I'll put the percentage at 40% that the Titans go to the Super Bowl at this point. But I say that knowing they have the best route because they got the number one seed. And I look at who they're going to possibly be playing. And I said Cincinnati's a team I would least want the Titans to play. But also look at it and say, no one scares me. There's not a team that's just a devastatingly bad matchup for the Titans in the divisional round. I don't look at the Raiders, Cincinnati, any of the possible teams they're going to play, New England, and think that, this is a horrible matchup for the Titans. So from that perspective, I think they're in really good shape.
Yesterday, I lost my marbles when we talked about analytics. The DVOA rankings have the Titans as the worst number 1 seed of all time. And I think in a lot of times you could see that probably in local radio. Somebody will, oh, well, the numbers say that the local team's no good and the numbers are terrible. But I think I've probably built up enough faith that it's not like a local homer going after the anti-team take. Maybe that would be something that maybe your old station, would probably do, but that's not something we would probably do around here. But I look at the analytics and everything else, and they say the Titans aren't good or this or whatever. There's something out there, and I don't know what it is. And you brought up the history of being the 1 seed, and Chris Anders will be part of our playoff preview show tonight. He was a part of that 2000 team, a big part of that 2000 team that lost to the Ravens at home. I just think part of it is Mike Vrabel this season, and I don't know what it is because it's not like Vrabel loves me, but I think there's something about him and either the way that he's starting to manage the game now or the way he's starting to manage the team now, but there's something about the New England background and the way Vrabel's grown as a coach that almost gives me a little bit of comfort going into these playoffs that maybe I haven't had a lot in the past.
Jared, I'm never afraid to go after someone in media or someone who I disagree with on social media when I see it. But there is a fatigue factor when I see many members of social media going after the same people in a town and just, hey, let's all get together and win one for the old team. And let's all band together against these big bad bullies who love math and are analytics experts. The moment I see someone other than me going after someone, I back down because then I don't want to be lumped into that group that just goes after someone on behalf of a fan base because you feel like, you're going to virtue signal your own fan base and show how brave you are, and they're going to like you more. That's the activities of someone who just really wants to be liked by a fan base more than anything else than sharing their honest opinion. So, yes, that does annoy me. The analytics stuff, the more you see these things, it's just more arguments for Mike Vrabel as NFL Coach of the Year. Like every time that you say this is the worst number 1 seed, someone once said this is a boring team. They get 2 All-Pros and other teams. It's all a sign that Mike Vrabel has done an amazing job with this group. Whatever you want to argue, they are the number 1 seed. They've won close games. They have a solid identity. If you say the Tennessee Titans, anyone who follows football knows exactly what they want to do every single game. And for that reason, I give tons of credit to Mike Vrabel and what he's done. I don't care what the analytics say. Because the Bills blew out a few teams, and that inflates their analytics and their point differential and everything else, should we think that the Bills are the better football team than the Titans? No. The Titans are the number 1 seed. So in my mind, the Titans are better than the Buffalo Bills. They beat the Bills this year. Very close game. The Bills are good, but I just don't get caught up in – I feel like analytics have become – either the crutch that a fan base will use to defend someone if the analytics side with that team or that player, and then it becomes the sword they'll use against someone who points out analytics not favoring your team when they don't like what they're hearing with the numbers.
And the thing about Vrabel with Coach of the Year, Chad, is Coach of the Year, and I agree with you. I think Vrabel's going to win it. I think that, Zach Taylor has a case. I think Bisaccia in Oakland or in Vegas, I think he's got a serious case for Coach of the Year. And apparently Adam Schefter said on Sirius XM, he said that Bisaccia has no chance of getting that job, which is crazy to me. But, Coach of the Year is almost an award of, hey, who outkicked their coverage this year in terms of winning more games or doing more than was expected given the circumstances. But in a 1-game playoff where game planning is important but also reacting during the game is important, I'm not sure I trust Zach Taylor. And Bisaccia, I don't think there's enough information there to know what he's capable of doing as a coach. I think with Vrabel, he's got the playoff experience. He's got good playoff experience. He's got bad playoff experience. But this season, I don't feel like he ever did something in the feel of a game that cost the Titans the game. Whereas, early on in his career, he was always wanting to go for it on 4th down, or they went for a 2-point conversion against the Chargers, and I thought that cost him a game. And this, I almost feel like you look back at this season, and there's a lot of moments where you think, man, Vrabel made the right call in that instance, and that gives me a little bit of comfort. The playoff history, him beating Belichick in the playoffs, beating that Ravens team, gives me a little bit of confidence in him going into the playoffs. is that local, our coach is the guy, homerism, or is that the reality that maybe the Titans do have the check mark in the coach department for a lot of these games?
I think it's a check mark in the coach column and not homerism. And I think I would point to his record when he gets extra rest for his team and how good he's been in those scenarios. And correct me if I'm wrong, the last big question mark I can think of with Vrabel in terms of game management or decisions came a year ago in the playoffs against the Ravens when he punted.
Yep.
At one point, I don't remember the exact circumstance, but I do
Fourth
remember.
4th and 2 early in the fourth,
Yep.
like 10 minutes to go in the fourth
Yep.
quarter. I think they were down by 4, and he decided to punt it down.
From the
as
40-yard
opposed to
line,
go
I
for it.
think. Yeah.
Yep.
That's the last time I can really remember the fan base, outwardly questioning something with Mike Vrabel. Yeah, I mean, I would, again, I think he's the coach of the year. I think it's always fascinating what you said about coach of the year in every league turns into a competition between the overachiever versus the dominant one. That's always a discussion, right? The team who was the best in the league or that had a great season, but maybe you expected that great season out of them, but still they delivered on it, versus the upstart coach or someone who overcame the odds. I think Vrabel falls in the overcame the odds category because people were expecting the Titans to be a playoff team and to be very good this year, but they didn't expect to have this many guys on the roster, to lose A.J. Brown for a stretch, to have Julio Jones for half the year. And, oh, by the way, the best player on their team, Derrick Henry, was gone for half the year, and they're still the number 1 seed. For that reason, I think he's the coach of the year. And I'm with you. I can't really point at a lot of huge question marks from, clock management, game decisions, anything with Mike Vrabel this year. I think he's done a very good job.
What do you think the optimism level for Titan fans should be? I'm cautiously optimistic. I think there are some Titan fans, maybe the loudest Titan fans, who are just through the roof. Our team is the best. But I think for the most part, Titan fans are always going to be a little skeptical.
Oh, I think Titans fans, if they're being honest with themselves, they're terrified because look, badly, you want to see history made, right? I think about this following Tennessee basketball. If they get back into an Elite Eight or they get to a Sweet 16, you start to get nervous because you so badly want them to go to their first ever Final Four. You want to see history. Tennessee is probably the best college basketball program that's never been to a Final Four. They're one of the biggest successes in the SEC, probably second or third in wins all time, never been to a Final Four. The city of Nashville has never hosted an AFC championship game. They've had opportunities, and they haven't done it. So I think Titans fans get more and more nervous the closer they get to that.
Chad Withrow with us, Outkick 360. I have a Titans question about the coaching carousel that seems to be going on, plus strange comments in Indianapolis. We'll get Chad's thoughts on that. Plus, Chad has a take on Joe Rexrode's take that he wants to get out there, so that's all coming up. It's a Fireball Hot Take Friday. Stillman and Company, Chad Withrow with us, Outkick Stillman and Company rolling along on a Fireball Hot Take Friday chat with Throw with us. Outkick 360 presented by Apple Collision Centers online at applecollisioncenters.com. So I'm looking at this coaching hiring cycle, firing cycle, you name it. Guys getting dumped after 2 years. David Culley. There were two that stood out to me. And I'm going to start with David Culley in Houston because everybody's sitting there. I thought Culley did a good job given the circumstances that he was put in because of the Deshaun Watson situation. And the owner seems like he's kind of kooky, and he's in love with the team chaplain, and they want to be a Patriots organization, but Deshaun didn't want to be a Patriots organization, so they brought fire after 1 year and whatever. But I think everybody, and I haven't heard anybody talk about this, when they get mad about Brian Flores being fired because of a power struggle in Miami or whatever, and that is sometimes I think the Titans might be the blueprint, Chad, for what some of these organizations are trying to do. New England specifically. But the Titans, you easily could have kept Mike Mularkey after 18 wins in 2 seasons and a playoff win when this team was the worst team in the NFL when he got the job. And I was reluctant to fire him because I'm like, look, I've seen Jeff Fisher's the end of his tenure, Mike Munchak's tenure, Ken Wisenhunt's tenure. You can do a lot worse than Mike Mularkey. But they wanted to have that synergy with the GM and the coach, and it's obviously worked for Vrabel. And I think other teams are looking at that saying, well, if I don't want my coach, I'll just move on no matter what I felt like he did in that first year. Do you think the Titans are kind of the energy for some of these teams that are making changes that are at least a little bit head-scratching?
Well, I refuse to try to apply logic to whatever the Houston Texans decide to do because they've been completely moronic time and time again. I can't make sense of a lot of the things they've done. I don't understand hiring David Culley if you never intended to give him a shot. I don't know why you want a 1-year bridge to hire someone else. I don't think David Culley did a great job. I don't think he did an awful job either. I think he was handed an unwinnable situation with the Texans. Now, I feel like you can go make an immediate upgrade, then go and do it. The one thing I will say that if the Texans go with Gerard Mayo, if that's the choice, that certainly feels like you were trying to replicate what the Titans have done. They are hiring an 11-year playing vet for the New England Patriots that played linebacker for Bill Belichick, and he's only coached for 3 years. I know Vrabel had more coaching experience at different places. He was at Ohio State. He was with the Houston Texans when the Titans hired him. But that feels like a move to try to replicate the Titans' success with Mike Vrabel, if in fact they do that. But that's the one thing that I'll look at with the Texans and honestly say, oh, I see what they're doing here. Because everything else that they do, I do not understand what they're trying to accomplish. So until they start making decisions and doing things like hiring Gerard Mayo, that's a clear sign they're trying to replicate the Titans. I really can't assign anything logical or predict anything they're going to do because I don't know that they even know what they're doing at times.
So this is my theory on it, and you could tell me if this is all speculative, but Deshaun Watson, people forget that before all the rape allegations came out against Deshaun Watson, that the Texans desperately wanted him to get on board with what they were trying to do for obvious reasons. But he said when they hired Nick Caserio that he was done. And it was like they told me that I'd have a say in the organization, and he clearly didn't want a Patriot guy, and they brought in a Patriot guy after they fired Patriot people, and Deshaun said he was done. And so then Caserio couldn't hire whatever Patriot coach he wanted to hire because they were trying to appease Deshaun. Then they hired David Culley. Hey, he's not a Patriot guy. He's a Ravens guy. And, maybe you'll like him, Deshaun. And then the allegations came, and it was like, well, now I guess it doesn't matter. And Deshaun says he won't play for David Culley anyways. So now we can get rid of him and get a Patriot guy because there's not any one person that we have to appease here. That's my theory on why the David Culley situation happened the way it happened.
Yeah, I think there's probably some truth to that. There was a time where they were trying to appease Deshaun Watson. Obviously, that went south with all the allegations. And then they were just in no man's land throughout the season. And again, look, I'm not going to sit here and, cry tears over David Culley, who's going to get paid a lot of money to be a 1-year head coach. And he can go do, whatever else he wants now. But I just think the whole situation is odd because I watched the Texans, obviously, against the Titans, and I saw a team that had nothing to play for except getting to the golf course at the end of their season that played hard. Whether that be for David Culley themselves, just because they're being good professionals, I don't know. But I saw teams like the Giants and others that, weren't really doing a lot late in the season. So I do give them some credit for seemingly improving late in the year.
What do you make of the mess in Indianapolis?
Well, I mean, I watched Hard Knocks, and I don't know how, if you're a Colts fan, you can be encouraged by your head coach, by your quarterback, by either of your defensive leaders, DeForest Buckner especially. Just watching it. Granted, I didn't watch the whole series. I watched the final episode. So we obviously know how it's going to end. We know the end of the story going into it. So maybe I'm reading into some of it. But Frank Reich standing up there, not emotionally mad, nothing, didn't seem irritated, bothered by the fact they lost, and saying, hey, we have the right people. We're going to be fine because we have the right people in this room, and we have the right people on this team. I was very uninspired by Frank Reich, by Carson Wentz and his response to that game. And it's not a good situation for Indy right now, because they clearly blew it with the Carson Wentz move. And Chris Ballard isn't going to fully admit that, but they're in a tough spot with that one. They don't have draft picks coming up. It's rough times in Indy.
So the thing that I took away from that Reich speech that you're talking about on Hard Knocks, we played it yesterday. Caroline hadn't heard it. Like, she hadn't seen Hard Knocks, hadn't heard it until we played it on the air. And she literally just turned to me and said, like, what a goober. And we were just talking about how I heard that and I thought Dan Quinn. I thought, like, your traditional loser coach. And everybody has hyped up Frank Reich about how great Frank Reich is. And outside of winning a playoff game with Andrew Luck, he hasn't done anything in Indianapolis. And I'm not sitting here saying that, that you should expect Frank Reich to win big, which you said, or to win with old man Phillip Rivers. But at some point, you only get so many cracks at trying different quarterbacks out. And I felt like the response, and the thing that got me was, we built a championship culture this year. I'm like, dude, you just lost to Jacksonville. I think a lot of the blame belongs to Wentz, because I never thought he was that good. But I think Reich is getting a free pass here from the people in Indianapolis, which I'm fine with. But I think it's ridiculous. If the guy campaigned to get Carson Wentz here, you got Carson Wentz here, you lost to Jacksonville, now you're getting up in front of my team and you're saying we have a championship culture. You think Belichick or Vrabel would have done that? I look at Reich and I'm like, I don't know if this guy can win in the NFL.
Well, Caroline may need to put earmuffs on here, because I know she's a big fashionista. But I was, and I may be an old man for saying this, I was turned off the moment they went to the Quiddy Pay fashion show. And he was talking about spending $12,000 on a pair of tennis shoes. And his coach was joking with him, hey, next time you get the urge to spend $12,000 on shoes, tell me, and I'll make some for you. I'll have some handmade shoes for you, and you can give me that money. And I remember Dan Dockich, who comes on our show weekly, who's with Outkick now. He's up in Indianapolis. And I remember him this week going into that episode talking about, Quiddy Pay versus Danico Autry. And you watch Danico Autry at the Titans. They said, we want Quiddy Pay. We don't want Danico Autry. And Quiddy Pay is not doing enough. Then I watched Quiddy Pay put on this Project Runway fashion show where he's talking about how damn concerned he is with his game day fit, and that he's, spends a lot of time thinking about his game day fit, because when you look good, you play good. No, give me a break. And again, I may sound like a really old guy here, but I don't want my defensive linemen or guys charged with getting after the quarterback concerned with their game day fit. If you want to look nice, fine. Hire a designer, hire a stylist, someone who just gives you your suits, your clothes, whatever. You should not be spending that much time worrying about your game day fit. I was thrown off when that went on. Then the Frank Reich comments made me mad. Carson Wentz facial expressions made me mad. If I'm a Colts fan, I am super pissed watching that episode, and especially after watching that performance against Jacksonville.
It's funny you brought up the Quiddy Pay thing. I thought the $12,000 shoes were ridiculous, but I didn't really think much of it other than, this is just fluff they're putting in the, the Hard Knocks where it can't be in a mitigated disaster for an hour. But I will say this, Derrick Henry always wearing Derrick Henry's always wearing some kind of fashion statement suit for a big game on the plane or whatever. You ever hear Derrick Henry talk about it? I mean, it's like, to your point, I bet you Derrick at the beginning of the year probably gets fitted. They probably send him suits, and Derrick puts them on, and everybody's like, wow, Derrick, that's funny. You look like a leprechaun today, whatever. and then Derek just kind of goes on the plane, and then Derek plays. But it's not like we're sitting there hearing Derrick Henry tell stories at the podium. Yeah, I spent $27,000 on a pair of shoes. And I think you're right. Like, what has Kwity Paye done? Derrick Henry's won 2 rushing titles. What's Kwity Paye done to sit there and have all this discussion about his shoes? And it's like, dude, you just lost to Jacksonville. Like,
well, I also, there's a distinction to me. But first off, Derrick Henry can wear whatever he wants. I'm not going to worry about it because he's earned the right, and he can do that. Also, I have a distinction between people who touch the football and throw or carry the football versus someone with their hand in the dirt. I don't want my guys with their hand in the dirt worried about game day fit. Maybe I'm old school that way. But if I was his position coach, I would watch that episode and think, hey, let's not worry about those $12,000 shoes and your latest designer, and let's go beat Jacksonville next year. Let's focus on that.
Chad Withrow with us, Outkick 360. So Joe Rexrode came on the show, and he, I don't want to say like staunchly defended Jerry Stackhouse, because I'm not sure there is much of a defense for Jerry Stackhouse at Vanderbilt other than, hey, I think there's a chance. But Joe certainly fired that at me on Wednesday. You were listening. So you've got thoughts on Jerry Stackhouse and Joe Rexrode's unwavering belief in Jerry Stackhouse. What are your thoughts?
I think Joe's a very good writer. I do not understand how after Jerry Stackhouse reacted the way he did to Joe's piece about him, that I thought was, like you, a borderline fluff piece about Jerry Stackhouse, where he correctly quoted him that people that don't think he can coach voted for Donald Trump, and that's the reason people don't like him. And then Stackhouse got mad at him about it. I mean, it's like Stockholm syndrome with Joe on this guy. Like, how would you possibly defend him? And I'm not talking just personally. Like, I would be done defending him personally at that point, but look at his resume. What has he done other than wore nice suits on the sideline? You brought it up, Jared. I thought this was one of your better rants I've heard from you. He's won 19% of his games in the SEC. And people want to point to the one season where Bryce Drew lost his star player and they didn't win an SEC game. Fine, that was terrible. It got him fired. Add that in, and you said the stat. He still won a much higher percentage of the game, even when you have the win season. Jerry Stackhouse has done nothing. And not only has he done nothing, he has not endeared himself to a single person, I guess, except Joe Rexrode, who continues to defend him. I mean, what has he done? What interviews is he doing? Other than blocking people, I don't think I've ever even tweeted about the guy, and I'm blocked from Jerry Stackhouse right now. It is a very, very odd situation. Jerry Stackhouse may be able to go back to the G League and have some success. The guy came into the SEC thinking he had all the answers. He's got none right now. And barring some miraculous run to the NCAA tournament and winning a game in the tournament for this team, I don't know how you keep Jerry Stackhouse after the season. I'm not for firing him in season. They've got a good enough team, and they have improved talent-wise to the level where I think they're more athletic, and they're going to beat some teams in the SEC just like they beat Arkansas on the road. But, I mean, this has been a complete disaster, what we've seen from Jerry Stackhouse. I don't get any defense of Stackhouse at this point.
I just don't feel this. And I have no feelings towards Stackhouse personally one way or another. I met him at the Coaches versus Cancer thing. He seems like a fine guy. But the blocking people on Twitter and the Joe Rexrode, Donald Trump thing, like that was like, it didn't make a lot of sense to me. Well, the way he butchered the end of the game Saturday, where he used 2 timeouts and didn't get a shot off, and the fact that I don't feel like they make any effort to promote Vanderbilt basketball inside the city of Nashville. Maybe I'm wrong. All I know is we've got Belmont that's blowing us up all the time and blowing up everybody. Hey, you want to talk to Casey? You want to talk Belmont? And I appreciate Belmont's hustle because they understand in a pro sports town, how do you get more people to know Belmont, to know Casey, to come to their games? And they try. I don't feel that at all from Jerry Stackhouse. So you're not trying to get people to care. You're not doing a good job coaching, winning or losing. And you're kind of doing things off, the trail that are kind of crazy. What am I supposed to like about you?
Well, and Greg Sage at Belmont does a great job. You're right. And they're always out there busting it, selling their program. And they've got a good program. They got a great product to sell.
Absolutely.
Jerry Stackhouse, his defense, does not have a good product to sell right now. So that may be part of it. I don't know why you wouldn't be selling it initially when you take that job. And now the sales pitch is, well, he's got a good recruiting class coming in. Well, great. You're losing Scottie Pippen. who right now is your team. I mean, he's going to be gone. He's not going to be here next year. I just look around and think if that is what you're hanging your hat on, is this recruiting class coming in next year for Vanderbilt, what you're really doing is saying, we don't want to fire a basketball coach and pay him a ton of money in a buyout. We want to keep the status quo and just pray for the best next season, that some sort of turnaround happens, even though it's probably not.
Chad Withrow, Outkick 360, presented by Apple Collision Centers. Last thing for you. Any big upsets this weekend in the playoffs?
Oh, it's definitely not going to be Pittsburgh. I believe it's definitely not going to be Philadelphia over Tampa. I mean, I guess New England over Buffalo. We saw it happen once, but the conditions aren't going to be the same. I really don't think so, Jared. I think we kind of have a chalky weekend with big upsets. So that's going to set up a great divisional round.
Chad Withrow, as always. Chad, appreciate you. We'll talk next week.
All right. See you guys. See you, Caroline.
Chad Withrow, Outkick 360, joining us on the program. Speaking of those games, I got to rank them in terms of interest level, because I will disagree. I think there's one out there that I'm all about. We'll get to that next. Stillman & Company, Fireball Hot Take Friday. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Which I think will be the biggest challenge.
Who will they face at Nissan Stadium on divisional weekend?
The road gets easier now that they have the first round bye.
We'll continue the conversation on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
We're painting the town Preds and gearing up for more hockey in 2022. Your Nashville Predators take on the Vancouver Canucks and Winnipeg Jets on January 18th and 20th at Bridgestone Arena. Get your tickets today at NashvillePredators.com/tickets. Whether you prefer to dance on Fang Vision with your bestie or watch the plays unfold before your eyes, Smashville is the place you need to be. It's your Predators against the Canucks and Jets. Visit NashvillePredators.com/tickets to make sure you get a seat. Let's go, Preds.
Hey, it's Jared from my official sportsbook app, the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Wild Card Weekend just got wilder. FanDuel is hooking up new customers with 30-1 enhanced odds, and that means you can win $150 on any team to win any wild card game with a $5 bet. Just sign up with the FanDuel Sportsbook app and make your deposit to claim your 30-1 enhanced odds. There's no better place to bet the playoffs than on America's #1 sportsbook app. It's simple and easy to use, and when you win, FanDuel will pay your winnings in as little as 2 hours. Already have FanDuel? Well, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with $50 when you refer a friend, and your friend will get $50 too. Don't miss your chance to win $150 on a $5 bet with the promo code JGM when you sign up. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app using the promo code JGM and pick your wild card team before kickoff. 21 and older in present Tennessee. New users only. $10 first deposit required. Must wager in a designated offer market. Max bonus $150. Bonus for Tennessee users fulfilled in site credit within 72 hours. Tennessee site credit expires 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789. Hey, it's Jared. Your body needs water. That doesn't mean it has to be boring. And I'm here to tell you to give Focus a try. Focus is a sparkling water with a spark. It's infused with a boost of natural tea caffeine, so you get clean energy without sugar, calories, or crash. Go to drinkfocus.com to find the full lineup of flavors and get them delivered right to your door. Enter promo code GAME at checkout for 15% off your first order. Focus is also available at your local Publix. That's Focus, P-H-O-C-U-S, on the web at drinkfocus.com.
Bank of England Mortgage has been helping Americans live the dream of home ownership for over 100 years. Since their humble beginnings in England, Arkansas, they've gone from a community bank to a nationwide mortgage lender. BOE delivers innovative mortgage products with superior customer service and the most knowledgeable loan officers in Nashville. Find your nearest location in Middle Tennessee at BOE1214.com or call 615-823-1215. Bank of England Mortgage is a division of Bank of England Mortgage. Equal housing lender, member FDIC, NMLS 418-481.
Sunday.
Let's play some football. Back to throw under pressure. All alone is Cedric Wilson for the touchdown.
It's a super wild card weekend in the NFL. The Dallas Cowboys host the San Francisco 49ers in an NFC battle.
Bring it on, Chop. Let's go.
Coverage begins at 3
on ESPN
102.5 The Game.
Hey, Nashville, Trey Wingo here. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Stillman and Company. Hey, tomorrow, big matinee Preds game, so be sure to get excited about that. Join 102.5 The Game for the Bud Light Preds watch party at Headquarters Beercade. Drink specials. Enter to win Preds tickets. Watch the Preds take on the Boston Bruins. Preds Bud Light watch party at Headquarters Beercade, located at 114 2nd Avenue South downtown. The puck drops tomorrow at noon. So we got 6 Super Wildcard Weekend games. And I'm going to rank them 1 through 6 before six-pack picks today. And this is just how I see them as the most interesting. So you may think they're different, but this is what I see. And we'll start with, should we start with the least interesting or should we start with the most interesting?
Least interesting.
Okay, so that means 6. So if we could dial up number 6.
Number 6.
The least interesting game, the Eagles and the Buccaneers. And I know it's Tom Brady, and I love Tom Brady, but Tom Brady is not going to lose to Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni at home in the playoffs. Bruce Arians might, Tampa might, but Tom Brady would never. So that game, total blowout. Maybe it'll be like 10 points or something like last year, the Saints and the Bears. But no, this game, not interesting. Brady will win.
Number 5.
Kansas City, Pittsburgh. Kansas City's supposed to be really good. Pittsburgh is not very good. So unless Tomlin motivates up a miracle, Ben has, divine intervention, or Kansas City just poops their pants like they did when the Titans played there in 2017 with Mike Mularkey and beat them, I don't see that being much of a game.
Number 4.
Rams in Arizona on Monday night. Am I the only person that's not interested in watching this game?
I think so. I'm interested.
Are you?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I think you could go either way. I really do think that's a total pick-em.
We had them on Monday Night Football already this year, and I thought the game was so boring.
Yeah, but it's the Rams and the Cardinals on West Coast teams. The NFL loves West Coast teams.
No, well, the NFL loves the Rams. But they obviously don't love it if they're making it the Monday night game and not one of the premier viewing window games.
But is Monday night not one of the premier viewing window games?
Well, it's not bigger than 3:30 Sunday.
Correct.
It's not bigger than Sunday night.
Correct.
And I don't think it's bigger than Saturday night.
I don't know.
Oh, Saturday night? I think Saturday night's bigger TV window for a playoff game.
Maybe
than Monday
so.
night. But
maybe so.
I'm not interested in this game. I'll watch it like we'll all watch it, but I just, you guys knock yourself out with the Rams in Arizona. I'm so tired of Stafford. He's just boring. Next game.
Number 3.
New England Buffalo. I think Buffalo's got the better team. I think it's a rivalry game. I think it's a big prove-it game for Buffalo. I think it's a big game for Belichick, to go out there and see if he can whip up the Bills after the Bills whipped him up a couple weeks ago. I think this is going to be a fun game. Weather's always a factor, but those are fun. The Tuck Rule game was fun because of the weather. So I'm actually very interested in New England Buffalo.
Number 2.
Cincinnati and the Raiders. This is a game. And I don't know if it's because the Titans, it's a big game for them, or what, I don't know. But I find this to be a very interesting game. Like, is Cincinnati for real? They get a home playoff game. Joe Burrow, Zach Taylor. We saw them beat the Chiefs, but that's like the first time this year we paid attention to Cincinnati. So the Raiders have won 4 in a row or whatever it is. They're red hot. Their coach is trying to make a case to stay the coach. I think this is a nice game. 2 interesting quarterbacks, non-traditional, like it's not a rivalry. So it's kind of like, okay, like these two teams are going to have to feel each other out. I like this for a playoff game. I think it's the second most interesting game.
Number 1.
The Cowboys. And it's only because, like, there's a certain percentage of America that thinks the Cowboys can do no wrong. And there's a certain percentage of America that thinks the Cowboys are perpetually overrated. And count me in the second part. And San Francisco, they were in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, but like this could be Jimmy's last game, and could Jimmy make a last stand to keep his job or to audition for other teams? And Mike McCarthy and Dak slumped and Zeke, and I find that to be a very, very interesting game. I expect the TV rating for Cowboys 49ers to be
through the roof.
Absolutely. Tony Romo, Jim Nantz will be doing the game. It'll be on Nickelodeon, too. I think it's going to be wild for that. So let's pick these games. Let's do that next. Six-pack picks is coming up here on Stillman & Company. Fireball, Hot Take Friday. I love Fireball. Cinnamon whiskey goes down so smooth and tastes so great. It's playoff time, which means it's time to kick back and enjoy ice-cold Fireball Cinnamon whiskey. Your team's in. And when your team's in and you know you're going to be snowed in watching football, you got to have Fireball. That's right. Fireball Cinnamon whiskey. Ignite the night. Please do it responsibly. And be 21 years or older to enjoy. That's Fireball Cinnamon whiskey.
Want the same internet but more privacy? DuckDuckGo's got you covered. With one download, you can search and browse privately, avoiding trackers, all for free. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
It's the official Bud Light Preds watch party as the Nashville Predators take on the Boston Bruins this Saturday. Puck drops at noon, but the party starts at 11:30 with all kinds of specials. See you at headquarters, Beercade, downtown Nashville on 2nd Avenue. Go Preds!
Gary Ashton here. Most people in Nashville know me as the don't sell without the intel and the guaranteed offer guy. But despite my accent, I'm also 100% guaranteed Nashville. I'm a guaranteed musician, a guaranteed dog lover, and you're also guaranteed to see me at every Titans and Preds game. Guaranteed offer means the Gary Ashton team with RE/MAX Advantage will sell your house for top dollar with no cleaning, staging, showings, or open houses, and give you up to 90 days to close. So there's plenty of time to find your next home. Guaranteed Nashville means my team lives here and loves it here. We've served Nashville for over 20 years, and we're passionate about helping the people we call neighbors and friends, which is why we've had a long-standing tradition of donating to the Vanderbilt Children's Hospital. If you're thinking about a guaranteed offer, get the only one that's guaranteed Nashville. Request a no-obligation offer by calling 615-301-1650 or go to GaryAshton.com today. Remember, Gary Ashton, guaranteed Nashville.
Hey guys, it's the new year. Are you still struggling with erectile dysfunction? I've yet to meet anyone that enjoys timing those intimate moments around a pill. Well, now you don't have to. The advanced wave technology at Hillside Medical has been shown by Cambridge University and the Cleveland Clinic to restore and even regrow blood vessels. It can improve circulation and eliminate erectile dysfunction. No pills and no side effects. If you're ready to put a stop to your ED, call us in the next 2 minutes and you'll receive a consultation, assessment, and blood flow ultrasound free. Plus, a special gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. You're going to love that. Trust me. This is a $600 value, free to callers now. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Guys, get rid of your ED and get that spark back. Call Hillside Medical now to qualify. 615-576-5000.
From Fox 17 News, this is a Code Red weather alert.
Gearing up for winter weather later in the weekend. We'll start with rain on Saturday with temperatures in the mid-40s. Conditions become slick beginning Sunday morning with accumulating snow by the afternoon. I'm Fox 17 Chief Meteorologist Katie Morgan.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the happy face truck today.
Robbie Stanley.
Maybe it doesn't hurt their bottom line this year. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen on that front.
Joe Rexrode.
5 guys who are on the roster are not going to be on the roster.
Get your morning started with Robbie and Rexrode every weekday from 6 to 10. Presented by Volunteer State Bank on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This is Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving.
Stillman and Company, the playoff preview show coming up in 10 minutes. Chris Sanders and TD. We are locked and loaded for 2 hours of Titans playoff previews. But it is a Friday, so it's time for 6-pack picks presented by Pella Windows and Doors of Nashville. Chase is in for Ian today, so the PD running the show. So Chase, we know that I thrashed Caroline in the regular season. There's no surprise there.
I don't think you thrashed me necessarily.
I think I beat you by 20 games.
We don't know that.
We will know. But the playoffs are anew. Where do we start, Chase?
Well, we're going to start with that, as I'm learning on the fly here there, Jared, so I apologize if the music is wrong. But let's just start with the Raiders at the Bengals. The Bengals -5.5.
I'll go first. I will take the Raiders. I think the Raiders are going to win. Again, the record 10-4 over the last 3 years for the road team in the wild card weekend, which means the road teams have to win some games. this is one a road team can win. I think the Raiders are going to win. I think Joe's knee is more of a concern than the Bengals are letting on. I'll take the Raiders.
I'm going to take the Bengals. I mean, I know both teams have been incredibly hot, but I think that the Bengals have more talent on that team, and I think they've gotten a taste of kind of being that elite team, beating the Kansas City Chiefs. They're on a high, and I think they want to continue that. So I'm going to take the Bengals minus 5.5.
So, okay. Then we got the Patriots and the Bills tomorrow night on CBS. You were just talking about that. Bills, the home team, minus 4.5.
I have a good feeling that this is going to be kind of a recreation of that first Patriots-Bills game, the windy game, the cold game, and the Patriots ended up winning that one. But I'm going to take the Bills because I think the Bills learned their lesson from that first game, and they're going to be able to get the running game going a little bit more, not necessarily trust Josh Allen with the ball in his hands in such a cold game.
So I think Belichick's a great coach, but I just don't think that Mac Jones can do what's going to be required of him to beat the number one defense. And it reminds me of all the times that Floyd used to talk about rookie quarterbacks. And he'd be like, yeah, you can't win with a rookie quarterback. It's like, but wait a minute. What about, no, can't win with a rookie quarterback. But what about, no, can't win with a rookie quarterback. I think Floyd knows, that you really can't win with a rookie quarterback. I think Bill knows that too. I think Bill's probably just happy to be in the playoffs with Mac Jones. I think Buffalo wins.
All right, moving right along to Sunday, we have Philadelphia and the Bucks. Of course, that will be on Fox. What do we think there as we have the Eagles getting 8.5, so plus 8.5?
I will take Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay wins. I think this game's a blowout. I think the Eagles are probably just happy to be there too. Jalen Hurts probably happy to be there, and they're happy that Carson Wentz isn't there. But I think Tampa Bay's the second best team in the NFC. Give me the Bucks.
Yeah, I think this is an obvious one. Give me the Bucks. Give me Tom Brady. Knows what he's doing in the playoffs. Knows that he needs to get a win here, and I think it's a better team. Even Tom Brady without Antonio Brown and some of his top receivers. Give me Tom Brady and the Bucks.
And then one that I am looking forward to. You seem to think this is pretty interesting, Jared. The Cowboys in Jerry's world, minus 3 against the 49ers.
I mean, that's basically an even spread with the 3 points going to the Cowboys for being called.
I'm actually going to take the 49ers plus 3. I mean, everyone is so incredibly high in the Cowboys this season, but I think Dak is in a little bit of a slump. This entire offense is in a little bit of a slump. I think that Cowboys have been trending downward, and I think the 49ers have been trending upward over the past couple of weeks. So I'm going to take the 49ers to cover.
I'm taking Dallas to cover and to win, obviously.
Yeah.
I just think Jimmy G stinks. We watched the game here. We saw how bad Jimmy was. The Titans, the MVP of the game was Jimmy Garoppolo for the Titans. And the 49ers have been done with Jimmy for a year. And their defense isn't that dominant. And
Has Dak done anything too special this season?
He's been okay. But Trayvon Diggs, they tell me that he's been great. He's got to keep Deebo Samuel from running away with the game because that's the one way San Francisco wins. I think Dallas takes care of business, and the Cowboy fans will be insufferable next week. And it'll set up for Cowboys-Packers. And, oh, my God, ESPN and Fox will talk about Cowboys-Packers literally 24 hours a day. But I'll take the Cowboys.
All right, Sunday night, Pittsburgh, plus 12.5 on the road at Arrowhead in Kansas City.
12.5 is a ridiculous spread for an NFL game. Give me Pittsburgh plus 12.5. Andy Reid is known for pants pooping during the playoffs. I know that we forget about it because he's been really good with Mahomes, but this Kansas City team is not last year's Kansas City team. They are not the Kansas City team the year before that. Pittsburgh's got nothing to lose in this game. I think it'll be like the Denver game where they'll win, but they won't look good doing it. I'll take the Steelers plus 12.5.
I mean, there is so much meat on that bone, Steelers plus 12.5, and it sounds crazy, but I'm actually going to take Kansas City minus 12.5. I mean, Big Ben doesn't even think that they belong in the playoffs, especially hanging with the second seed in the AFC, the team that a lot of people think are actually going to run away with the AFC. I don't know if I necessarily believe that fully, but I'm going to take Kansas City minus 12.5 because I just don't think the Steelers are a good team at all.
For the first time ever, Wild Card Monday, the Arizona Cardinals and the Los Angeles Rams. Rams at home, minus 4.
I'm going to take the Rams. I just don't think Kyler Murray has looked like the same quarterback. This team hasn't looked like the same team that they did earlier in the season. I give me Matthew Stafford over Kyler Murray.
I'll take Arizona. I think Arizona's defense will find a way. I think Arizona won the game late. Wait a minute. They traded all his first-round picks. They got knocked out first round of the playoffs. And that will happen. Give me Arizona. Six-pack picks presented by Pella Windows and Doors. And let me tell everybody right now, the playoff preview show, Chris Sanders, Teron Davenport, they are here. That is next. But first, be caller 5 right now at 615-737-1025, and you'll win a pair of tickets before you can buy them to see the Eagles perform their iconic Hotel California album in its entirety at Bridgestone Arena on April 28th. 615-737-1025, and apparently tickets are on sale now. So good luck on the Eagles tickets. Playoff preview show coming up next. It's ESPN 102.